Big 12 Today with Ari and James. Monday through Friday, 8 to 11 Eastern Time. Your home for all things Big 12.
Big 12 Today here on Big 12 Radio. Welcome in. This is the Big 12 Conference. This is a different league. This guy is Ari Timken. I'm James Westling. We've got Anthony Smith behind the camera for Big 12 Studios. We've got T-Chains, Tamer Turner, our producer slash engineer slash awesome hat wearer. Oma Ears. Oma Ears. West Virginia. Man, they rolled Troy yesterday, 12-0. They've got a big one today against North Carolina. We'll preview that. Also, L.J. Martin's going to join us, the reigning Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year, the BYU star running back who has a chance to become the first BYU running back in program history to lead the team in rushing all 4 seasons that he's on campus. You won't want to miss that interview. But let's not bury the lead here. I walk in, Ari's not wearing basketball shorts. He's wearing a museum. Authentic throwback KU shorts. Those are so sweet.
Thank you.
I'm so jealous.
Thank you. I could buy you a pair.
Those are legit.
Yeah.
KU needs to make, because those are like the alternate uniform shorts, the throwbacks. Yeah, get that K up there. Display the K. KU needs to make that their primary set.
Okay. I don't know if I'd go that far. I enjoy the throwbacks that they wear every year. These were ones they wore last year. Better than the sunflower ones we saw a few years ago.
They didn't rock those this year, did they?
No, thank God.
With all the flowers and
Too much
bright colors.
Too many sunflowers. I love a good sunflower. You know that.
Flowers don't belong in basketball.
No. Even a sunflower, even for the state of Kansas. The sunflower state.
But, bro, that's a clean look.
Thank you.
I'm a
Appreciate
big
you.
fan.
That's a clean look as well yourself.
You're dressed like you're ready for tryouts. I'm dressed in a pocket tee and self-doubt.
Yeah. Yeah.
Today, wearing pants. It's 100 degrees in here.
It's not cold in here. I'm going to be honest with you.
T-Chains has the worst of it because we at least have our rescue cooling rental pointed directly at us. But T-Chains, he doesn't see any of that. He's just over there in the hot box. But that's why he makes the big bucks. Good work, T-Chains.
Nervous laughter from Taylor there.
I don't really know, do I? I'm not really sure.
The big
We don't talk about that, and that's okay. All right, West Virginia, man, 12-0, taking down Troy. They put Dawson Montesa?
Montesa.
Thank you. I asked you 3 times before the show. I still can't get it right. Dawson Montesa, who a year ago was pitching at Adelphi University, a Division II school on Long Island. Yesterday, he's in an elimination game in the College World Series. He locks down Troy. 64 of his 112 pitches were strikes. He only walked 4. He struck out 6. He allowed just 2 hits. He was nails. And West Virginia gets the shutout, 12-0. And now it's on to North Carolina.
Well, and you know, Montesa is a guy that started the year very inconsistent, and he has found some consistency here deep into the season, into the playoffs, and it's been huge because when you think about like postseason play, managing your pitching staff, keeping guys fresh is so important. And so if Montesa had a bad outing yesterday and you still win, let's say the final score was 12-11, now you're burning through your pitching staff to try to just get to North Carolina. Instead, you've got a well-rested pitching staff. You could line your rotation back up with, you know, your top 2 guys, and Montesa now, you know, making a case for perhaps another start at the World Series.
And if you're missing this West Virginia run, you're missing out on the early favorite to be the number 1 overall pick in the 2027 MLB draft, because Gavin Kelly, who plays multiple positions, was phenomenal at the plate again yesterday. 3 for 4, had his 18th home run of the year. It was a 3-run blast in the 6th that took the game from we're in control to this puppy's over. 4 RBI, 2 runs scored for the Mountaineers. Steve Sabins, this is what he said about Montesa and just what he means to the Mountaineer baseball program.
Yeah, he's such a special kid. I mean, all these kids, you guys have a great feel for our team by now, just from whoever you choose to sit up here. They present with class, and they're real, and they're humble, and they're down to earth, and it's just like a really special group. He's certainly one of them. He just loves to play. Like, he is a black lab golden retriever. Like, get him in the yard and like throw him tennis balls, and the guy will have a blast. But he could play basketball, baseball, hacky sack during BP. He's catching balls behind his back, in between his legs. He just loves to play. So like, anytime you tell him, hey, Dustin, you're gonna get the ball, he's like, hell yeah, coach, let's go. It doesn't matter if it was a close situation, middle relief, starting in the World Series. He's never shown an ounce of frustration in his role throughout the entire season. And that guy's a high-profile draft prospect. That guy has a good chance of pitching in the big leagues. So you insert that guy on any team in the country, and he has a role. It doesn't matter, any team, any conference, any situation, he's got a role. It's plus stuff, it's plus athleticism, and plus makeup. And for a guy like that, who's gone from Friday to Sunday to middle relief to closer to starting in World Series games, in the regional, he threw 122 pitches, came back the next day, threw 10, and it was with better velocity. And so it's just like, that's that character stuff, that's that makeup stuff that it's hard to pinpoint, but once you realize who somebody is, it's just so special.
Positionless baseball. When he's talking about whether he's getting the start, whether he's the closer, whether he's coming in relief, whether he's pitching on Friday or a Sunday, it does not matter. And that's, like, to me, what embodies this entire team. Positionless baseball. They're all there for one goal. They're united, and they just love the game.
8 teams entered, 4 remain, James. That's a Final Four to me. So regardless of what happens tonight against North Carolina,
today, the game is, I just had it. It is, T-Chains, do you know?
2 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Central.
This afternoon.
1 o'clock. Regardless of what happens, it's been a tremendous season. Obviously, you want to see West Virginia win a national championship here. They've got an opportunity to do it. So go do it while you can. But it's been a remarkable run, you know, and we've documented it well here for a program that when West Virginia joined the Big 12 in 2012, you know, it looked like it might not survive, and not only did it, it's thriving. And you know, I just can't stress enough what these kinds of stories mean in a world where we talk so much about the negative in college sports today, and there's so many positives like this, not just, you know, for West Virginia to rise from the ashes, but, you know, the thing we talked about last week when you were out, and then reiterated it this week, the piece on the biomechanics lab that Steve Sabins in West Virginia have, and, you know, what that means for a university, how much that transcends just baseball, right? You've got now, you know, a expert in the field as a scientist helping your team, making money for the university by seeing, quote-unquote, patients that are Major League Baseball players, also teaching at the school, so offering a major at the university that they otherwise would not have, right? Like, there's just so many elements to it that are just incredible and should be celebrated because of how much we hear about the negative side of college sports today.
And ESPN, there's a reporter for ESPN that has a great piece on the Omaha takeover, and it expands on just how dead in the water this program was back in the 2010s. And when I hear biomechanics lab, like, what was that show? Was it Sports Science back in the day? Like, that's what pops into my brain. This is new age, way ahead of its time stuff for a program that was almost completely eliminated 15 years ago. In Galveston this weekend, I'm hearing people sing Country Roads. I'm hearing Country Roads in stores. I was like, surely this isn't tied to West Virginia and they're running Omaha. We're a long way from Omaha. My kids are singing Country Roads because they see it on YouTube. They see the highlights. Like, it has been a revolution of West Virginia, just this incredible run. And can they officially, like, can they claim that they're a Final Four program? They're a Final Four team, you said, and then there were 4? Like, they can lean into that, right?
There are 4 teams left.
4 teams left.
You know,
that's a Final Four to me.
All college sports have kind of a different, you know, label, right? Like, making it to the College World Series is a success in the same way that making a Final Four in college basketball is. But, yeah, there's 4 teams left. It's Georgia, North Carolina, West Virginia, and Oklahoma. So 2 SEC teams, 1 Big 12, 1 ACC team.
All right, how do you feel about Oklahoma? Because they took down your beloved Kansas Jayhawks, but they've really been the Cinderella of the postseason. To me, it almost helps KU that, hey, they just ran into an absolute buzzsaw that is the Cinderella story of the College World Series.
Yeah.
I think that looks better than, like, Oklahoma getting crushed in their next 2 games.
Yeah, they haven't lost. They didn't lose in the Super Regional. I don't think they lost in the Regional. They have not lost in Omaha. So, yeah, I mean, sure, it helps, I think. You know, there's always that question after your team's eliminated is like, you know, do you root for the team that eliminated your team so that it helps to justify the loss? I think it's circumstantial. But in this case, yeah, I mean, it shows in much the same way when Kansas got boat raced by Nova in the Final Four with Jalen Brunson, Michael Bridges. Like, even now, it's like, oh, yeah, that team was really good.
Yeah, totally.
Like, we didn't realize at the time how good that team was. Same way with when Kansas beat Steph Curry and Davidson to get to a Final Four as Bill Self's first. Thinking, like, you got to beat this baby-faced, you know. Who is this kid?
Baby-faced assassin.
Yeah, and then it's like, oh, yeah, he was good.
Yeah.
He was real good. So, yeah, I think that does help, you know, especially over time when you see, like, in some ways how dominant these teams are. Like, that Nova 2018 team is like, yeah, that was a really good team. Yeah, that was it was a dominant team.
All right, guys. T-Chains, follow along. There is a link on the rundown to build your 2026 NBA Draft blind big board. I want to see where Darren Peterson ends up and where AJ DeBonsa ends up for you guys. So there's 10 questions.
Steve from Sporting News has been a long time reporter for the NBA. Basically put together this questionnaire that will help you put together a big board for the NBA draft.
So you are an NBA general manager, and I'll walk us through each question. Everybody's ready to go. There's 10 questions, and then it builds your big board based off of what you prioritize. So question 1, bad defensive habits as a prospect aren't a big deal.
Disagree. So you 3 options: agree, disagree, or neutral.
Yep, and I'll just go through the questions, and then we'll see how this thing shakes out. Question 2, I don't mind taking an older prospect as long as the production is there.
I'd say neutral.
Okay. Question 3, give me the guy with top-tier athleticism, even if he hasn't figured out how to use it yet.
I would agree.
Love it. Question 4, low feel for the game. Low feel for the game is a deal breaker for me.
Let's say neutral.
Okay. Shooting can be taught in the NBA.
Agree.
You care if a guy's a bad shooter. Okay. Question 6, I'd rather have a hard worker who will max out his potential over a better talent with some serious focus issues.
Neutral. You know, what's funny about this is like one of those personality tests that asks you the same question multiple ways to make sure that you're going to answer it consistently. Because you could just tell that many of these questions are under the same guidelines.
Totally. All right, question 7. I would rather have a boom or bust prospect over someone with a high floor but a low ceiling.
I would say agree.
Okay. I'm not wasting a good lottery pick on a big man.
Neutral.
Question 9. We're almost there. T-Chains, you doing yours?
Yes.
Okay. I'd rather have a guy with significant holes in his game who could drop 26 points than a jack-of-all-trades, master of none. Do you want the more consistent 10-point-per-game guy, or do you have a guy that, again, could be a boom or bust guy, but could get you 26?
I'd agree.
Okay. And the last question is, it's always a mistake to build around small guards, no matter how talented they are offensively. You care about height when it comes to your guard prospects.
I would agree.
Okay. Hit the button, and it'll build your big board. 10 questions in.
All right, so I've got DeBonsa 1, Peterson 2, Boozer 3, Caleb Wilson 4, Wagler 5, Nate Ament 6, Lendenborg 7, Cam Carr 8, and then Braden Burry's 10.
Okay, who are your top 3?
The the consensus top three. DeBonsa, Peterson, and Boozer.
Okay. Mine is very different. My number 1 is Boozer. My number 2 is Peterson. And my number 3 is A.J. DeBonsa. Number 4 is Kingston Flemings.
What does it say at the top of your big board? Your scouting philosophy is?
Two-way believer. You value balanced impact on both ends above lopsided dominance on one side of the court.
That's pretty good. Mine is you search endlessly for upside, casting caution to the wind to hunt the biggest chance at a superstar creator.
Okay. So more of a risk taker. You're looking for that,
This is kind of
that next MJ.
This fits, doesn't it?
Very much so. All right, T-Chains, what do you got?
Yeah, my top 3 are AJ, Darren, and Cameron, and I'm a two-way believer also, that I value balanced impact on both ends above lopsided dominance on the one side of the court, which actually that kind of fits my philosophy.
Okay.
I like 3-and-D wing guys.
I was really surprised that Kingston Flemings showed up as the number 4 prospect on my board. Darius Acuff is 5, Caleb Wilson is 6 for me. But Boozer's number 1. Below kind of your scouting philosophy, it shows you the percentage of submitters. What do you guys have for that number? Shared by
49%.
Okay.
12%.
12%. Look at this guy. He's ready to shake up the draft.
It's amazing to me that there's risk-averse people in a exercise. You know what I mean? Like, this isn't even real.
Just for fun.
You're not even taking any real risks here, but people are still very, very risk-averse here.
Yeah. So mine was shared also by 49% of submitters, but the first time when I found this, I did it yesterday, and I was at like 22%, but my top 3 were the same. Both times. Cameron Boozer, number 1, Darren Peterson, number 2, and A.J. DeBonsa, number 3. Which is interesting because I would take DeBonsa number 1, like no questions asked. But according to my scouting profile, my philosophy would indicate I should take Boozer.
Well, and in many ways, I'm sure this is the dynamic that many GMs deal with, and that is, you know, they may evaluate a board one way, but they have their own preconceived ideas here that will hamper their ability to make the right pick, quote unquote. Because I did the same thing. I had DeBonsa 1, Peterson 2, and I'm like, well, if I'm 1, I'm taking Peterson 1.
You're taking Peterson.
Yes.
Peterson apparently was surprised that during his one-on-one interviews, most of the questions weren't about basketball.
Yeah, so I saw this. This was like an aggregated quote from Brian Windhorst of ESPN. So Windhorst reported it, and then it was aggregated across multiple online publications. And my first thought was, haven't we already heard this? Didn't we already hear about this? And my second thought was, how on earth could he actually be surprised by that? Like, you'd have to be the most delusional person on earth to be surprised that an NBA team with the first overall pick is asking you questions about yourself and not about basketball, especially after the year you just had.
No kidding.
The basketball thing isn't a question. Right. Nobody's questioning the basketball thing. That's why you're in the conversation with the number 1 overall pick, the basketball thing. It's everything else that people are questioning here. I'm surprised that you're surprised.
Yes.
In fact, I'm shocked that you're surprised. In fact, I might just take you off my board entirely because you're surprised by this.
If his camp is this delusional, that's a problem. If his camp is...
But they really are that delusional. Yes, we already knew that.
Yeah, they have to be. Like, if you're supporting this young man and trying to put him in a position to succeed to the highest of his ability on and off the floor, you have to have him prepared for all the other non-basketball stuff that you have created. The basketball's not the deal. We know you can play basketball. He wants that to be the thing, but it's not the thing.
Well, in Peterson's camp and his dad, they're in for a rude awakening here. This ain't it, you know? Like, especially, I mean, if you're drafted in D.C. with the sports media there and just the hunger they have for the Wizards to be good, yeah, I mean, if you're Peterson's dad and you're his camp, quote unquote, you've been in control of his future forever. Well, you don't have any more control.
Yeah, not anymore. Taman was talking with his dad. They were texting back and forth.
I do have the text.
A couple weeks ago.
I wasn't going to bring that up, but
his dad.
I do have the text.
Yeah, Do you know his name? I don't know his name.
I do know his name.
Don't tell.
No,
But his dad hit him with the new number who dis.
pretty much.
All been there. All right, coming up next, ESPN does a futures power ranking of all 68 power conference teams, and we've got issues with it. And then Chris Level from the Texas Tech Red Raider Radio Network joins us here in about 20 minutes. He's Ari, I'm James. We're powered by Modelo. This is Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio.
Jackson's in trouble now. David Bailey, he is a sack machine.
We are brought to you, the Full-Time Fan, by our friends at Modelo. Chris Level from the Texas Tech Red Raider Radio Network, host of Locked On Red Raiders, with us in about 13 minutes. And then next hour, we dive into the consensus, where we try and rank each and every Big 12 team 1 through 16. We have put together separate polls. We try to consolidate those and make our cases for why teams should be slotted at a certain spot. Today we are at number 12, T-Chains.
Yes, sir.
The 12th place team preseason in the Big 12. But ESPN's Adam Rittenberg always puts together annually a futures power ranking of all 68 power conference teams. And he also is not afraid to keep receipts, and I respect that about him, because last year's way too early futures power rankings had Texas as the number 1 team in the country. His evaluation method, his criteria, hasn't changed, but he used to do these for like 5 years in the future, and now because of NIL and the portal, he only does it for the upcoming 2 seasons, 2026 and 2027, because so much can change year over year. He looks at roster management. He looks at how teams have progressed in the portal. He also puts a spotlight on the offensive and defensive lines because of the impact that had in the college football playoff, where the line of scrimmage mattered so much. But no Big 12 teams in the top 10 this year. Texas Tech checks in, I believe, at number 11. BYU, I think, is around 15. But last year, no Big 12 team cracked, I believe, the top 15. Arizona State, I beg your pardon. Arizona State was number 12, one spot below where Texas Tech is coming into this year's future rankings. So a little bit of growth, like year over year. What are your thoughts on where these Big 12 teams are slotted?
Well, let me first ask you where you would have, how you would future power rank Big 12 teams right now. Give me like your top 3 or top 4.
In this conference alone?
Yeah.
I'd go Texas Tech 1, BYU 2, 3, probably Houston, and then I'd throw Kansas State into the mix as my dark horse sleeper pick.
Yeah, I would probably go Houston 1, Tech 2, BYU 3, with Oklahoma State, K-State, and Utah all in the mix there at 4, 5, 6.
You would have Houston number 1 for this year and next year.
Yeah, because I think there's 2 important things to focus in on, and that would be coaching continuity, which obviously Texas Tech and Houston both have.
Yep.
Ascension growth. Look at what Willie Fritz has done. Look at what Joey McGuire's done. Quarterback. So you've got Connor Wegman for this year. Put together a pretty good season last year, as most Houston fans will point out to me, as I've severely underrated Connor Wegman in my preseason discussions. And then Keyshawn Henderson takes over after that. I'll be honest with you, I don't know how Houston's not higher on the Adam Rittenberg list, other than the fact that it's Houston. Houston is 26th. They should be in the top 15 based on Rittenberg's criteria. I mean, they check a lot of boxes. I don't think there's another team in the country that has the future quarterback situation like Houston does, with the continuity as their head coach and the shown ascension here. The only thing they don't have that Tech has that a lot of others in the top 15 have is
money, cash, cheddar. I'm with you on the quarterbacks.
moolah, dinero, buckaroos,
all of those things.
Benjamins.
Bahamian dollars. Connor Wegman and Keyshawn Henderson, that is a 1-2 punch that sets them up very nicely. I think the questions that Rittenberg notes is, how does the offensive line hold up guys like Shadray Hurst, guys like Anthony Boswell? Because last year the offensive line wasn't very good, but they still were a very efficient offense. They still were able to run that ball control, get to third and short. They were one of the better rushing offenses in the Big 12. Connor Wegman was one of the top dual-threat quarterbacks in the league, but he only threw for 2,700 yards. Defensively, they were rock solid. If the offensive line does what we think it'll do this year, because these transfers grade out very nicely in like Pro Football Focus grades. Shadray Hurst was one of the most sought-after prospects. Houston might be the number 1 culture program right now in the Big 12 in terms of retention. All these guys that were with Willie Fritz at Tulane that could have gone just about anywhere in the country are reunited with him, like Mekhi Hughes, the running back. So that tells me a lot about guys want to play for Willie Fritz. So I'm with you on Houston. They're way too low at 26 on this. And then I look at BYU and just what they've built, and Bear Bachmeier only being a sophomore. And remember, he played as a true freshman. So even if he has this breakthrough Heisman-type season, he has to come back one more year. You have to be 3 years removed from high school before you can enter the NFL draft. So, he's back. It's not going to be an L.J. Martin situation. Does he stay or does he go?
Right. I mean, BYU and Tech and Houston clearly, I think, are the top three in terms of future power rankings. What's also interesting to see from Rittenberg's list is the way in which certain teams and programs have just completely dropped. Iowa State, they go from number 19 last year to number 63. Baylor goes from 32nd to 64th. So, I mean, obviously with Iowa State, you're talking about losing Matt Campbell and all of the players and coaches you lost with them. That makes sense. But the Baylor one is interesting. It's almost as if they are anticipating that Aranda's not going to be back next year. He's got the hottest seat in the Big 12. The other thing that's sort of interesting is the scatter plot that is the Big 12 across this list. You've got Tech at 11 and Kansas at 65. So there's quite the dramatic spread here. I also think K-State at 48 is way too low.
So
now, they're a year away, I would say, ultimately, from a justifiable, top 15. But, man, if they solidify some things this year, especially with their coach, meaning they win 8, 9, 10 games, look really good, and suddenly you're set up for the future with Colin Klein.
So he only has Stanford, Purdue, and Boston College, the three other power conference teams ranked worse than Kansas, Baylor, and Iowa State. Kansas as the dead last team in the Big 12. That is surprising to me. So he's anticipating a major drop-off. Now, Baylor I get, because if Aranda struggles this season and you bring in a new coach next year, it's kind of a starting from scratch situation there. And again, these are only power rankings for 2 years. But at the top, Texas Tech at 11 is way too low to me. They just played in the college football playoff. They just had a bye in the college football playoff. And the 2027 recruiting rankings, Texas Tech has a top 7 class. They already have 2 5-stars. They already have 9 4-stars. They have 14 commitments. The crystal ball predictions have them landing 2 or 3 more 5-stars. They have a top 7 class.
Well, and this on the heels of a 2026 class incoming that includes 4-star running back Ace Rowden, 4-star safety Donovan Webb, and 5-star offensive lineman Felix Ojo.
And they're big mad. Nobody's going to outbid Texas Tech for prospects that they want in this recruiting cycle.
Well, and even if you want to make the Sorsby argument, the quarterback situation seems to be pretty decent moving forward with Will Hammond.
Yeah. He's only going to be like a redshirt sophomore. He is still a young quarterback. He redshirted his first year. He played a little bit last year as a redshirt freshman. He's a redshirt sophomore. He'll have 3 more years of eligibility. How about Notre Dame being preseason number 1? Just to add some context to that, Texas was Adam Rittenberg's preseason number 1 team last year for future power rankings. This year it's Notre Dame. Justified?
No. Obviously not.
Notre Dame's 2 toughest games on their schedule last year were their first 2 games of the season, Texas A&M and Miami. And then they didn't play anybody the rest of the way. Jeremiah Love was a top 5 draft pick. Their top 2 running backs both get taken in the first round. That was stunning to me.
Yeah, I mean, the 2 things I think you got to focus in on first when looking at this, and again, this is the future power rankings. So Adam Rittenberg, as you mentioned earlier, is looking at the next 5 years, or used to be looking at the next 5 years. Now he looks at the next 2 because of the transfer portal. You got to look at coaching continuity and quarterback. I think those are the 2 most important factors. For Notre Dame, coaching continuity, check. Quarterback, check. C.J. Carr is poised for a big year this year.
Was he that good last year?
Good enough. Was Bear Bachmeier that good?
Good point.
And it's not a knock on Bachmeier. It's more of a, most times we assume that if a guy scratches the surface of their potential, that the next year that they reach that potential. It doesn't always happen, right? There's a work ethic and a want to. It's a huge part of that. You know, Kansas at 65 is interesting. Not that I disagree with it, but more from the standpoint of where was Kansas on this list 2 years ago? And in many ways, look, it's a fun exercise for Rittenberg, and Rittenberg's a friend. But, like, I'm assuming, without looking at this, that Rittenberg had Kansas in the top 20 2 years ago, which is sort of ironic because the whole exercise is where is this going to be in 2 years, and nobody could have predicted that for Kansas it would be 65th out of 68 Power 4 teams.
Yeah. He had Kansas last year 50. And he notes that, yes, Jalen Daniels is still in Lawrence, but the major injury setbacks, like he wasn't as high on Daniels as everybody else. And the likelihood of having a multi-year quarterback, we knew Daniels was gone. He also had Arizona State 12 last year, and this year I think he's got them in the, 20s or 30s. That's too much of a drop-off for me. Like 8-5 season with a backup quarterback, you lose Tyson for half the year, you lose Levitt for half the year, and you still win 8 games. I don't think it's justified to drop them like 20 spots because they went 8-5.
Well, and that's another one where it's like quarterback, coach. All right, so Boley I believe in because of the coach and the continuity that the coach and the coaching staff have. Nobody has the coaching staff continuity that Arizona State has right now in the Big 12. As we've gone through every Big 12 team, everybody's replacing coaches. Some head coaches, some coordinators, some position coaches. Arizona State is the same group multiple years now. That has to count for something.
Houston, Texas Tech, Arizona State. Arizona's had some continuity now in year 2 with Seth Dake.
Yeah.
Speaking of coaches, the Arizona safeties coach, Brett Ark, is going to join us in hour number 3 of the program. But coming up next, Chris Level, Texas Tech Red Raider Radio Network, host of Locked On Red Raiders, the aftermath of the Sorsby stuff. The future is now for Will Hammond, and Chris joins us after this break. We're powered by Modelo, heard on TuneIn, watched on Big 12 Studios.
Attack the defense with your mind. Here he is. Morton. It's a deep ball. Left sideline. Dropping it right in for Virgil. Oh, what a ball from Baron Morton. Derek Morris. Texas who gave him an opportunity to get started. There's a beautiful pass. I mean, that's a big league throw. That is a clinic again to Reggie Virgil for a first down.
This is a BB. Like, that is a difficult throw to make, and what a catch. Williams stays in. Play fake. Morton well protected. Spins one. End zone. Caught! He drops it in the bucket. Coy Aiken reels it in. 42 yards. Here's Morton. Downfield strike and brought in by Aiken. They're going to mark him down at the 1-yard line. Already. Maybe the final play of the quarter. Morton, Seabrown, there it is, and it's caught for the touchdown. Caleb Douglas.
Big 12 Today with Ari and James. Your home for interviews, analysis, and all things Big 12. This is Big 12 Radio on TuneIn.
Back inside Big 12 Today here on Big 12 Radio, brought to you, the Full-Time Fan, by Modelo. With Ari Timken, I'm James Westling. Chris Level from the Texas Tech Radio Network and host of Locked On Red Raiders. The Brendan Sorsby drama is over. He's no longer with the program. Chris, just give us a little BTS behind the scenes on what it's like in Lubbock right now.
Isn't that one of those, isn't that boy band over that shows up on Netflix? Is that not BTS, or is that, am I?
No, I think you're right.
Sounds right.
Okay. All right.
I think you're
Sorry.
right.
No.
You must have
Yeah.
a daughter.
And I do, but she's 22. So
she's
yeah,
past
but,
that.
I thought I'd seen something like that. I mean, you guys know this. I'm sure you guys at some level were felt a certain way about everything, but yeah, everybody's angry. Everybody's angry at you. You're angry at everybody else. So let's just all be angry together. But it definitely made the first couple of weeks in June, and I guess at a weird time in the spring, kind of, I don't know, go by faster or go by slower, depending on how you would view that. But it's man. A lot of drama here, but you have closure. Brendan Sorsby has closure. The Big 12 has closure. Texas Tech has closure. Joey McGuire has closure. And some of this will linger. I don't know what lasting ramifications. And there's plenty of things on all sides of that to point out and to wonder aloud about. But it's just another interesting chapter. I did a show yesterday about all the incidents we've had here over in the 20 to 25 years I've been doing this, and this one moved to the top of the list. It like supplanted Mike Leach. I mean, guys, back when Mike got fired, I was asked to be on CNN and talk about it. It was such a big story at the time, but it was in December, and it was in a weird time of year, and this was just sitting there where it's the only thing anybody was talking about, and it's just everybody sat and wallowed in it and had opinions on it and hit publish. So yeah, here we go.
Chris, what do you think ultimately was the deciding factor here? Was it Sorsby? Did cooler heads prevail? Give us a sense here of how this ended up coming to a head.
Oh, I think you got a heads up on that from the head coach in a couple of things that he said, one in Houston, one in the video that they sent out, that Sorsby's family was uncomfortable the day that the injunction was granted and saw some of the reaction. And I think that, look, was this injunction going to stand up, throughout the summer, and what was he going to have to endure? Or do I take a chance on the supplemental draft, which is no guarantee either? And it's just he got moved off of his spot, I guess, and I think that just ultimately felt like I think they were concerned initially about putting the university through this and everything that was going on and all those kinds of things. So. I think that they worked through it, I guess, on Monday and Sunday night, Monday, whatever it was, and here we are.
All right, Chris. So ultimately, and Cody Campbell kind of alluded to this in his statement, ultimately, like, this was all coming from Sorsby. Sorsby's the one that wanted to push to play. Sorsby was the one that wanted to ultimately end the charade, if you want to call it that. Was it more him pushing on both sides, or was it more of kind of a collective effort in, hey, this is what's best? Just want to make sure I understand correctly.
Are you talking about him leaving?
Both, the whole thing. Yeah, him leaving, the injunction, all of it.
Well, I mean, okay, the legalities is you can't. Yeah, I mean, he had to sue the NCAA. Texas Tech couldn't have anything to do with it, and we've seen all the accusations and the miswording, and that's what's
right.
been interesting, is that how many times have you guys seen Texas Tech went and found a local judge? I mean, that just couldn't have been further from the truth. In fact, I'm not so sure that they wouldn't have preferred this judge that came in from out of town that ruled the other way after everything that's gone on. But that's not what happened. But yeah, he sued the NCAA, and I think one of the last times I was on with you guys, Jeffrey Kessler seeks some of this stuff out, and he kind of hired Brendan Sorsby as much as the other way around.
Wow.
And he won. I mean, this is just somebody that doesn't lose a lot of these, and they had to, in fact, withdraw it, the whole injunction, so he could be eligible for the supplemental draft. But yeah, I mean, I think that part is absolutely accurate, and I think Brendan. This is not a player that I really know. Just so I'm clear, I mean, he was here for
Right.
I didn't spend any time around him whatsoever. He was here during the spring, but so I can't really speak to. I just know they knew his family. There were some connections there that we've talked about before at previous times on, but again, whether he got talked into suing the NCAA or he pushed for it, either way, it's the same thing. And just like. Did he leave? Did Tech push him out? Like I've seen all that too. It doesn't really matter at this point. I mean, he's on to the next phase of his life, and Texas Tech. And I always said this to you guys too. Texas Tech was going to be just fine no matter what, and I still feel that way.
The one question, Chris, I've been asked a ton as I've done interviews on this is, like, what's the status now of Texas Tech at the Big 12? How does that relationship get repaired? Does it need to? Give us a sense here of what you've heard and your feeling on kind of how to patch this relationship here.
There's no. I mean, people can make a big deal about that or not, but there's no. If we're kidding ourselves if we think that either one of these parties can, not have the other.
Yeah.
They're. I mean.
Right.
That's the heart. Whether the Big 12 really wanted to like kick you out and be mad at you and sanction you and all that, or you wanted to get really mad and say I'm out of this league. I'm going to play. Nobody has that option, and it would be really bad for business on both parties to do that. Like here's the part that everybody's angry, okay, and you've taken a ton of shots. It was a free for all. But here's why people here are frustrated, and there's some irony here, is that everybody's like, these are just questions that I think fans here are asking aloud. It's the entire Cincinnati angle. It's like they were part of these Brendan Sorsby discussions to sanction you. Like, is that not odd to everybody? And why was nobody asking about that? That's what I think Texas Tech's leadership probably was getting involved in. And then we get the statement from the executive committee about, we frown upon players that have gambled in games, and the integrity and all this stuff. Guys, and we all know, because the crux of this is he bet on games at Indiana, and he played 2 full years at Cincinnati. And then everybody jumps to, well, they didn't know, well, or that this wasn't, that ignorance is, you know how that goes in a football program. If a bunch of your players are doing this and you just didn't know about it, guess who takes the fall? So that's what everybody's frustrated about here, that they feel like nobody is talking enough about. Is this is a member institution that fielded this player for 2 full seasons, and yet there's not a nary a word spoken about it. And we're getting statements, and you're the villain, and they're trying to sanction you and kick you out and compare you to Baylor and suing you and all the stuff, right? And whether you deserve all that or not, that's just what some of the stuff that everybody here is asking aloud. And so, yeah, there's just everybody's frustrated, everybody's mad, everybody needs a juice box and needs to go sit in the corner and get a timeout right now. And just some calm. The problem is there's no kickoff isn't for like 3 months, and everybody just sit and get mad and come up with arguments and research and just get all the stuff. That's the part that I'll be glad when we can get to football and media days and all that stuff and stop talking about all this. But we're not there yet.
Yeah, and that also allows some time for the dust to settle, if you will. And, Texas Tech, they were very outspoken about their support for Sorsby. You referenced the 20-minute video from the leadership team. Do you feel like, Chris, there will be any effort or even needs to be any effort to kind of reconcile with the Big 12 or fans? Or do you think Texas Tech goes silent and now we're locked into Hammond, let's just get ready for the year?
I think that I think what's going on privately is a bit differently than what's going on publicly. How about that?
Yeah, I'd agree with
And
that.
that's the way it should be.
Yeah.
I think this is a commissioner that's done a really good job. I would be willing to strongly assume that he's had multiple conversations even throughout with Tech's leadership, and everybody is again, you gotta. Everybody's in the entertainment business, and maybe you have to take away their tortillas or tell somebody they're not running the league. But I mean, just all these things that have happened over the last whatever. But yeah, there's no. I don't envision some sort of problem here. I think that's not. And again, fans will react, and people like us will react and have our opinions, but that's in some cases that's not reality. Being in the Big 12 for Texas Tech right now, and the Big 12 having Texas Tech is what's best for business. And guess what this is? Brett Yormark would tell you foremost, it's about business. The bottom line, that's my job, is generating revenue. And so anyway, but yeah, I think everything will be good there in time. But there's been a lot of people that have said a lot of stuff, right? And I'll be interested to see. It certainly makes for potentially more entertainment. I told Taman I'll have my popcorn ready, because there's a lot of people that have said a lot of stuff. It'll just be interesting to see how it all plays out. So the only thing you can do if you're Texas Tech is just win. That's the only way to thumb your nose up at everybody, if that's what your intention is just win. But past that, you're going to continue to take some shots, it sounds like. Real
quick here, Chris, give us your scouting report on Will Hammond and when you think he'll be available.
Yeah, well, he's obviously ahead of schedule. I'm not going to say that he wouldn't be ready for the opener. That may be blended into week 1, week 2, week 3, whatever. None of that has changed based on now everybody's got a different focus though, because the Sorsby's not in the picture anymore. But we just don't know at what level he'll be at. How quickly will it take him to acclimate to the runner and some of the things that he was so good at, which everybody saw when he went up to Salt Lake City in the second half and really did a good job against Utah, and then didn't play particularly well in Tempe. I think the game plan admittedly was too vanilla. They tried to protect him, and they kind of said, well, we shouldn't have done that. We should just let him go. And Arizona State obviously had something to say about that too. But no, he was always the future of this program. And had he not gotten hurt, we wouldn't have been dealing with this whole thing that we've dealt with for the last 2 to 3 months. But great kid. And he's a sophomore. So this could be your guy for the foreseeable future for this year and a couple years afterwards, if that's the way it works.
I think people forget just how highly touted of a prospect he was out of high school. And something tells me opponents aren't going to like playing Texas Tech when they're angry. I think they'll be okay. Chris Level from the Texas Tech Red Raider Radio Network, host of Locked On Red Raiders. Chris, great to catch up. Thanks for your time, and we'll talk to you soon.
Hey, and I just want to say I'm just glad you guys are not mad at me. I'm not mad at y'all. I mean, nothing but love for you, man. ELE. So everybody love everybody. Hey,
yeah, that's right.
We'll talk next time. Appreciate it, boys.
You're the best, Chris.
See you, Chris.
All right. Thank you, guys.
All right, coming up next year on Big 12 Radio, we dive into the consensus. We are trying to preseason rank all 16 Big 12 teams, 1 through 16. We've agreed on 16 through 13. We debate who should be the preseason 12th ranked team in the Big 12 Conference. Coming up next, he's Ari, I'm James. This is Big 12 Radio.
Last time they played, Johnson throwing the ball, and it's tipped up and intercepted on the deflection. What a pick! Xavier Alford came in from nowhere and picked it clean after the pass was broken up.
Big 12 today here on Big 12 Radio, brought to you the Full-Time Fan by Modelo, where fan rule number 19, losses count as character development. And for the consensus, we are trying to rank every Big 12 school 1 through 16. The losses are character development exercises for the teams that we've done so far, because we started at the bottom. We've gone 16, 15, 14, 13, and today we're at number 12. So today, I would say we are entering like bowl eligibility territory. Big 12 had, 10 or 11 teams that were bowl eligible last year. And with the teams that Iowa State and Kansas State elected not to play in a bowl, like that opened the door for UCF. UCF at 5-7 actually got a bowl invite in which they declined. So we're in bowl territory, I would say. T-Chains, who are the teams that we have ranked at the bottom so far?
So far, you guys have Cincinnati ranked at number 16, Iowa State at number 15, Kansas at number 14, and UCF at number 13.
Okay, so today we are debating the 12th ranked team. Who do you bring into the chat?
Well, so I'm kind of recapping a few teams that we have discussed but haven't yet inserted into specific spots. And that would be Baylor and West Virginia. In fact, I made the case yesterday for West Virginia. You made the case for UCF. When did you do Baylor?
I had Baylor, I believe, 13th or
14th.
14th, maybe.
Yeah, you had them 14th. So we ended up with a consensus on Kansas at 14, and then UCF at 13. So I'm going to make the case today for either West Virginia or Baylor. What about you?
I bring a new team to the discussion. Insert Colorado. Colorado went 3-9 last year. They were 1-8 in Big 12 play. So if we slot them at 12, I had them at number 11. That would be a major uptick from what they did last season. So really, as we go through this exercise, I'm trying to position Colorado as a bounce-back team or season, because last year was really bad. They were 117th out of 136 FBS programs by conference record. That ain't good. So a sharp drop from what they did the previous year with Shedeur and Travis Hunter at 9-4. The big question for Colorado looming is, can Coach Prime put together a winning team that doesn't have one or multiple of his children on the roster?
Yeah,
because we haven't seen that yet.
Yeah. For Baylor and West Virginia, Dave Aranda is no longer calling plays at Baylor. Joe Klanderman takes over. He's obviously the former Kansas State defensive coordinator under Chris Kleiman. He spent 6 seasons running one of the Big 12's most consistently respected defenses, reaching top 3 of the conference scoring defense multiple times. For West Virginia, Rick Trickett is the one name we've talked a ton about this offseason. The offensive line coach, added longtime Rich Rod offensive line coach.
And I think between these 3 teams we're discussing, the coaching changes is probably what's changed at the top, more so than anything else. Pat Shurmur is out as the offensive coordinator at Colorado. They bring in Brennan Marion and his go-go offense, which this is going to be an offense. This is like a spread triple option attack. They use 2 running backs in the backfield. His UNLV offense scored over 35 points per game 2 years ago. They had a 900-yard rusher. They had an 800-yard rusher. The quarterback is very involved in the ground game, and they had a 1,000-yard receiver. But also Robert Livingston is out as defensive coordinator. He goes on to the NFL. They replace him with Chris Marve. Warren Sapp resigned from staff in the offseason, so they've replaced both coordinators on top of bringing in 43 new transfers. So there's a lot that has changed outside of just Coach Prime in Boulder, Colorado.
I would say of all of the coordinator changes of the Big 12, the 2 best are Joe Klanderman at Baylor and Brennan Marion at Colorado. I think it was super obvious that if you paid attention to the show last year during the season, that Pat Shurmur was not cut out to be a college offensive coordinator. He's very much, fitting specific players into specific boxes. It's kind of like a what you see is what you get type offense. And on top of everything, it's very much an offense that doesn't change to, leverage the best of what the team has. So, I think this is a total changeover for Colorado in terms of their offensive coordinator. I love the hire. I think it'll lead to a much more successful season. I'm going to be making the case today that Colorado should be much higher than 12.
Okay. See, I when I look at their roster and what has changed, I see nothing but positives. Like Caden Salter, he was a bust. He's in the CFL now. He didn't sniff the NFL. They add 55 new players. They lose 36. So their net transfer portal ranking is really high. They bring in DeAndre Moore from Texas. He had over 500 yards and 4 touchdowns in SEC play last year. Danny Scudero, the receiver from San Jose State, is a perfect fit for that go-go offense because he's small and quick and twitchy. Think underneath, elusive route runner. He was the leading receiver in the country last year. And then Cam Perry from Miami, Ohio, led the nation in yards per catch at over 22 per grab. They also brought in Ernest Campbell, who's an FCS transfer but was with Brendan Marion at Sacramento State. They add a lot of running backs. They lose Jordan Seaton. But on the offensive line, collectively, I look at growth there because last year it was like Seaton and guys that were relatively unproven on the offensive line. This year they've brought in more like experience on the offensive line. So I think they've changed their recruiting philosophy there because their ground game has been like worst in the country. Definitely worse than the Big 12 2 years in a row.
What grade would you give Colorado in their roster construction?
So I give them a B-, not quite a B. You know, they had the 18th ranked transfer portal class, according to Craig Hobart, who's the recruiting services coordinator for ESPN. He's been on our show multiple times. He really applauded their process. Gideon Lamprin, the linebacker from Bowling Green, was 150 tackles last season guy. So the defense is still a work in progress, but the pieces that they've brought in at linebacker with the transfer from Texas as well, I would say that their transfer portal haul, at least on paper, looks better than it did a season ago when really, like, Caden Salter was the headliner. It was Salter and everybody else.
Sounds like you're making the case that Colorado needs to be higher than 12 here. I gave Baylor a B- grade for their roster construction. What grade did you give them?
I gave them a C+. And I did have Colorado higher than the spot that I'm arguing for today.
Got it. Meaning, it's funny, higher or lower makes it sound weird. Like it makes it sound like
preseason higher, further up in the standings.
Got it.
More wins than losses.
Yeah. That's how I understood it. I just want to make sure that it was clear because you say higher, it's like you mean a higher number?
Yeah.
No. Higher in the standings.
NCAA tournament talk drives me nuts with that. Higher, lower, C.
Yeah,
Make it
totally.
make sense.
For West Virginia, though, you know, as another team to focus in on their roster construction, you know, I think of these three teams we're talking about here for 12, West Virginia would have the lowest grade here because, you know, you once again have turned over an entire roster. Your secondary, which has been the worst in college football the last 2 years, it's just a major question mark here as you've built your roster. So it feels like, well, with Baylor's roster construction, many of these were forced. You know, like they didn't lose Sawyer Robertson; he ran out of eligibility, so they replaced him with a guy was pretty highly sought after, a DJ Lagway. You know, they brought in two big-time players along the defensive line in Hosea Wheeler and Ponder from Southern Miss. So I look at these three teams overall and think Colorado and Baylor have much higher talent they brought in from a roster construction standpoint. Rich Rod has a lot of hoping and praying with some of these guys he brought in.
Mm-hmm. All right, the hinge point. We talked the hinge point, red flag, ceiling, and floor. What's the one thing that has to go right for Baylor or West Virginia?
For Baylor, it's got to be less than 10 interceptions for DJ Lagway. In 24 games at Florida, he threw 28 touchdowns and 23 interceptions. That's not good enough, especially given the situation with their defense. Look, I do think Baylor's defense is going to be improved this year, but how much? And if Lagway is in position to have to, I mean, last year they had to score 38 points to win games. They will not be able to win enough games this year to save Dave Aranda's job if 38 points is the key target for them. And 10 interceptions, for me, indicates that this will be a successful season for Lagway, 10 or less.
After, 14 last year, led all power conference quarterbacks and
and
picks.
13 the year before.
I think the hinge point for Colorado, the trenches is going to be massive. They can't stop the run. They can't run the football. But the hinge point, the quarterback carousel last year was a mess. So everything in Boulder running through a kid in Julian Lewis, who only started 2 games last year. It could be the most exciting thing in the Big 12 because he's a former 5-star recruit and the offense is finally his. Or it could also be the most terrifying because he's still only like 18 years old. In the 4 games that he played last year, he was pretty good, almost 600 yards. He didn't throw any interceptions. I highlight that as the number one thing. He had 4 touchdowns. Now, his completion rate wasn't great at 55%, but again, as a true freshman, to not have any picks, that stands out to me. All right, what is the hinge point for those 2 other programs?
For Baylor, the hinge point is DJ Lagway and the interceptions, and then the one that I talked about yesterday with West Virginia as the hinge point is Cam Cook, and it specifically is staying healthy with a new offensive line under Rick Trickett, giving him room to operate. It's not complicated with West Virginia. They go as their running back goes. This is an offense built upon a high-powered rushing attack, and without it, they're in trouble, which is what happened last year. Jaheim White was lost for the year after week 2. That's what derailed their season, and Cam Cook not playing and not being healthy, not being effective would definitely derail this season for West Virginia.
Yeah, that would be bad. That would be really bad. For Colorado, the thing that could derail them is in the trenches. Colorado was, to say they were bad last year on the ground would be an understatement. They were dead last in the Big 12 in yards per rush, 3.1 yards per carry. And they were dead last in the Big 12 in rushing defense in league games.
Well, they have not been good rushing the football since Deion's been at Colorado.
2 years.
Yeah.
Like, that was their identity crisis 2 years ago when they went 9-4. They can throw the ball all over the yard, but they can't run it.
Well, and this is where I like the Jordan Seaton thing from the standpoint of you use the money you might have spent on retaining Jordan Seaton to replenish your offensive line as a whole. Instead of spending $5 million on one lineman, why not spend $2.5 million on the entire offensive line? And that's what Colorado has done. I think Colorado is going to be successful in their endeavor this offseason to build a much better, more consistent rushing attack.
And I like their defensive line collectively on paper because they've kind of taken that same approach by committee. They brought in like 8 dudes. Those guys combined had over 40 sacks at their last season, for a program that was last in the Big 12 in sacks per game in their 9 league games. So the defensive line was a mess. The offensive line was a mess, even with that top-tier NFL prospect. Colorado has a much more balanced roster this season. All right, coming up next, we continue to make
I've got to give the one thing for mine.
Do it.
So the one thing that could derail for Baylor's defense, obviously, and for West Virginia's defense, specifically secondary. So as we focus on offensive side of the ball for both of these teams, for the hinge point with DJ Lagway throwing less than 10 picks, interceptions are going to be a huge number for Baylor, and rushing attempts and rushing production will be a huge number for West Virginia. It's the defense that will potentially derail the entire season for both of these teams. Baylor overall defensively because they've been so bad the last 2 years. In West Virginia, their secondary because they've been brutal the last 2 years in their secondary.
Did you have Baylor higher than 12th in your preseason ballot, I guess we'll call it that?
Yes.
Okay. So we're making a case for at least 2 of the 3 that we both had higher than this 12th spot in the Big 12. And coming up next, we'll debate, is this spot too high, too low, or about spot on for our schools? It is the consensus. We try to figure out who should be the 12th place team in the preseason Big 12 Today football poll here on Big 12 Radio. He's Ari, I'm James. We're powered by Modelo.
There's this little look right over it. Daniels floats one. End zone.
That recipe, everything except the passing.
Big 12 today on Big 12 Radio. Each and every weekday right here on the channel, exclusively on TuneIn. You're watching us on the Big 12 Fast channel, Big 12 Studios. We still have L.J. Martin, the BYU running back and Big 12 reigning Offensive Player of the Year, set to join us here at the top of the hour. Coming up in 15 minutes, we have a hidden guest because part of the consensus exercise is we don't know who the guest is going to be because we debate these teams on who should be at this given slot depending upon the day. Today we're at the 12th ranked team in the Big 12. Ari's making his case for West Virginia and Baylor. I am making my case for Colorado. So convince us that this spot is too high, too low, or exactly right.
Yeah, I mean, with Baylor, 14 of the 22 projected starters are portal transfers who have never played together. The offensive line lost its 4 starters, including its anchor center. Leading rusher is gone, and Bryson Washington, the top 4 wide receivers from 2025, are gone. You can't swap out the majority of your roster and expect a top 10 Big 12 performance. So that, to me, is the biggest reason for why 12 is maybe the right spot for Baylor, though I think 12 is really the right spot for West Virginia, and that's because, again, similar dynamic where you are replacing a ton of your production from last year, but I think Baylor's replaced its production with better, more talented players than West Virginia has, and that's the big distinction for me of why I'd argue for West Virginia 12 over Baylor.
Yeah, I would make the case for Colorado being higher. I understand a 3-win season and 1 win in Big 12 play. There's a lot of improvement that has to happen for them to jump to 12th or 11th or 10th or even 9th. But I look at Brendan Marion, and you noted this earlier, probably the most underrated hire in the league. His offenses churn out points. He was part of a UNLV stint in which they went 19-8 and were a doormat program. He went 7-5 at Sac State, but the offense wasn't the issue. And then Julian Lewis, another year in just playing at this level, he is an elite talent, genuinely elite. There's a reason why he reclassified. He's maybe, in terms of arm talent, a top 5 quarterback in the Big 12. Phil Steele also has 7 Colorado players on his preseason All-Big 12 team. The receiver room, I think, is by far the most talented it's been since post-Travis Hunter, and just collectively might be the best receiver room that Coach Prime has had at Colorado. All right, the case for lower.
Meaning moving them down?
Down, not up.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of just made that for Baylor in terms of, 14 of your 22 projected starters are transfer portal players. And West Virginia has a similar dynamic in terms of that with, all of the new players. And, for me, the biggest reason to put West Virginia in this spot is the secondary has been really bad the last 2 years and has derailed their entire defense. If they figured out the offense, which I expect them to a larger degree this year, how much do they still need to figure out on defense?
Yeah, the case I would make for Colorado is only Oklahoma State was worse offensively. Defensively, they were the worst team. In rushing defense, they had the fewest sacks in Big 12 play. They only had 9 sacks last season in league games, so about 1 a game, and that was it. So the case for lower is that you've brought in 55 new players, you've got 2 new coordinators, your quarterback has 2 career starts. That's a long way from 3-9 to get to bowl eligibility. In Colorado, the case for lower is they maybe have more questions on paper than all the other teams that we've talked about because of just the roster turnover that they go through year over year. All right, ceiling and floor.
Yeah, I mean, I think the ceiling for this team is 9 wins. You've got a extremely talented quarterback who was the highest rated recruit a few years ago in a new situation with an offensive coordinator there that should very much be able to leverage his skill set. Spavital, he's been a wizard at turning around quarterbacks, and I think it's an offense that fits Lagway to a T. because in a lot of ways he reminds me of Sawyer Robertson. And then on top of that, you've improved the defense, one, by bringing in Joel Klatterman. So you brought an outside voice, because clearly the voice that you've had as a defensive play caller in Aranda has not worked. And then you've also brought some talent to boot as well in Ponder and Wheeler. They spent some money on defense, and I think that's where it's going to make the biggest impact. The floor is 3-4 wins, right? Once again, the defense has not figured it out. 3 straight years of it. There's more data here that suggests that Dave Aranda as a head coach does not have good defenses. They've had 4 losing seasons in 6 years that Aranda's been there, and most of those have come because their defense has been so bad. So, if their defense does not make the dramatic improvements. And by the way, last year their offense was really good and their defense sucked. They had to score 38 points just to stay in games. What if their defense sucks and their offense is not nearly as good? That's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
Like, they need to improve both their offense and defense this year because they lost so many players on offense that were a part of a pretty good and efficient offense.
All right, ceiling and floor for Colorado. The biggest thing working against Colorado is, number one, history is not on their side. They have had only two winning seasons in the last 20 years, dating back to 2005. They had that 10-4 season in 2016. Coach Prime got them to 9-4 last year, 2 years ago, I should say. Outside of that, they haven't been playing in bowl games. They have been going 4-8, 5-7 at best. They have a lot of 2-10s. And then the other thing, man, their schedule. Their schedule is brutal. At Georgia Tech to open, at Northwestern week 3. They play more Big 12 road games, and they've got the best teams in the Big 12 on their slate. The only team they don't play is BYU. But they've got Texas Tech, Utah, Kansas State, Arizona State, Houston. So I would say their ceiling is probably 7-5 for Colorado because of that non-conference slate.
Yeah.
You win 2 out of 3 there, I think you're feeling pretty good. The odds of them beating Georgia Tech and Northwestern both on the road that early in the year, man, that's tough. So I would say if you're 7-5, you've got your 3rd winning season in the last 2 decades, you're feeling pretty happy.
Yeah, that's a good call there. For me, overall, just making the case here for West Virginia at 12, more so than Colorado or Baylor. I mean, just look at the quarterback situation for all 3 of these programs. So Colorado probably is the best quarterback situation of the 3 of them with Julian Lewis. Baylor, having Lagway, I think, is right behind him. And then Michael Hawkins and Scotty Fox. Decent competition. I like what they have, but if I'm comparing the quarterback situations, I would take West Virginia 3rd out of them. Colorado, by the way, 40 portal commitments. They rank 21st nationally in the 24/7 sports transfer rankings. And I think, again, instead of overindulging in 1 or 2 high-level players, they've spent across the board, which has raised the talent profile of the team dramatically.
Floor for Colorado is probably another 3 or 4 win year, especially with that non-conference schedule.
Yeah.
Like, if you lose both of those, you beat Weber State, where else are you getting wins? They play Kansas State at home. They play Houston at home. They get UCF at home. They play at Cincinnati, play at Oklahoma State, but they're going to be much better. There's a huge swing game on Saturday, September 26th, between Colorado and Baylor. It's in Waco. I would say the floor is another 3-9 campaign from what we saw a season ago.
Right. The Marion offense doesn't work. Lewis doesn't develop. Still don't have a rushing attack, and this thing could get really bad for Colorado.
Yeah. The other thing about Colorado, the Deion Sanders Coach Prime cancer factor, okay? So, diagnosed with high-grade bladder cancer in the spring of 25. Reconstruction surgery. He was very outspoken about it. He went through 14 total surgeries. He had to have a corrective procedure for fighting blood clots. That happened after the TCU game. That was similar to a surgery in the aftermath that took place in June of 2023. But he announced that he's cancer-free. Just a couple of weeks ago, he was on ABC's Good Morning America. He said, this time last year I was fighting cancer. I didn't know which way it was going to go. I'm cancer-free. I'm good. I've got my swagger back. I've got my health back. Did you guys get that sense from what you saw at the spring meetings, that he had that swagger back?
Yeah, no question. And I feel like this is the most underplayed story in college sports right now. All anybody wants to talk about is how bad Colorado's going to be. This is Deion Sanders last year. Nobody wants to, reconcile the fact that this dude had cancer, didn't retire, stayed with the team, had his bladder removed, coached the team through all of this. Now, was it in the best interest of the team? Probably not. But he's still there, and he ain't going anywhere. I've gotten so many questions about Deion Sanders' future, and it feels sort of hollow to me because nobody's recognizing that, very legitimate health reasons why this team was so bad last year. It's not entirely the reason, but you're going to tell me that their coach missed the entire offseason, had his bladder removed, and that didn't impact the outcome of the season last year?
And remember,
that's crazy.
The TCU game, he could barely get through the game.
Yeah.
He was seen laboring on the sidelines. He announces that he's fighting blood clots in his leg during his post-game presser, has the procedure that next week. The 3-9 record, there's context needed, to your point. You have to acknowledge what he has been through and what he at least says he's now free of. All right, your final defense for West Virginia and Baylor.
Yeah, look, West Virginia at 12 is where they are because they went 2-7 to the Big 12 last year with a roster their head coach openly admitted was poorly assembled in a rush offseason. And now they're in year 2 of that rebuild. Whereas Baylor went 5-7 with a historically bad defense and a historically bad turnover margin, and they've addressed both of those things with hires and their additions in the portal, credible ones. So I look at West Virginia and it's all right, you acknowledged why last year went poorly for you. It was a poor construction job and it was rushed, but have you done enough to fix that year 2 of the rebuild? And will it take another offseason to fully replenish? I would say yes, especially based on the acquisitions this offseason for West Virginia. To me, that will show themselves way more so in 2027 than they will in 2026. For me, Baylor is set up to be more successful in 2026 because they have to be. They don't have 2027 for this staff if 2026 doesn't go well.
And there's parallels between Baylor and Colorado to that degree of this has to be a bounce-back season. For Colorado, I have them ranked higher than number 12 on my preseason ranking. I would say that the go-go offense is the number one thing that has potential to reshape the entire league. All Brennan Marion has done is score 35 or more points at every stop every season with this offense. So we're talking about potential for huge growth there. But on the flip side, the schedule. Colorado could be night and day better than they were last season and go 5-7. You've got to play at Georgia Tech, at Northwestern. You only have 4 Big 12 home games, and those include Kansas State, Texas Tech, and Houston as part of that bunch. Colorado better learn to win on the road. And their road games are at Cincinnati, at Arizona State, at Oklahoma State, and at Baylor in league play. It is a gnarly slate for the Buffaloes. All right, T-Chains, what is the consensus?
Man, you guys made really good arguments and really good points really for all 3 teams. But the consensus here for number 12 is Baylor. I think Baylor's even though they did improve their defense, they hired Joe Klanderman. I think Dave Aranda's seat is very hot, and if this does not go well for him, it's pretty much gone, and I could see it going bad. If Ari mentioned the fact that even though their defense might be better, their offense might be worse. They can't score 38 points a game. If DJ Lagway throws a number of picks, Ari's number was 10, that's going to be a problem there. I think Baylor will be better, but not good enough.
It's wild, man. We were talking about Sawyer Robertson maybe being a first or second round NFL talent at Media Days last year. He just got signed by the Broncos to attend rookie minicamp after being undrafted. That's what 5-7 will do.
I still think West Virginia belongs in this spot, even with the things that were just brought up with Baylor. They still brought in higher level talent than what West Virginia did. So all those things are true. They could be worse on offense. They could be worse on defense.
TBD. We'll find out. Yeah. All right, we'll find out who our hidden guest is coming up next. This is the consensus. We lock in Baylor at number 12 here on Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio. Our hidden guest will join us around the corner. Taman knows we don't. He's Ari, I'm James. This is Big 12 Radio, and we are brought to you, the Full-Time Fan, by Modelo here on TuneIn.
Touchdown, Trigg!
It is list season here on Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio, brought to you by Modelo, where the off season doesn't mean off. We welcome in David Smoke from 365 Sports as we highlight the Baylor Bears today, who we lock in part of the consensus to 12th in the preseason 1 through 16 Big 12 Today poll. And Smokey, it's with Baylor, like 3 years ago, nobody thought they'd go 3-9. Last year, or 2 years ago, nobody thought they'd end up with 8 wins after they started 2-4, and nobody thought they'd be 5-7 with all that talent coming back. So Baylor might be the most unpredictable team in the Big 12. How do you feel about the Bears this year?
Man, you nailed it, because that's what they've been really for a long time, since through coaching changes, from Briles to Grove to Rule and then to Dave Aranda. It's been a roller coaster. It has absolutely been a roller coaster, and about the time you think you might figure them out that they're just not very good, then they go, that we've discussed this. I know you guys get tired of probably me rehashing it, from 2-7 to the best season in Baylor history with the 12-2. And then when they started feeling pretty good, they fell apart in 22. 23 was a disaster. Then that 8-14 kind of gave you hope with Sawyer, and they could score. And then, of course, took a step back again last year. There's a lot of breath of fresh air around this program. And it's not because Sawyer Robertson's not there. DJ Lagway, of course, it's his team. It just seemed like you haven't heard a lot about them. The Lagway signing was a big deal, but you haven't really heard a lot about them. And I think in that case, maybe that's good. When I talk to other coaches who are either former coaches or those who are a part of football in some way, they still look at the bottom line. Does Baylor have enough pure playmaking talent? The Bryson Washington running back out, but they have Pendergrass, the plow horse, kind of the personality maybe back. I've said this before, and I even have some Baylor fans or others like, man, you just don't want to get off this. I just get to a bowl game. And I don't know if that's enough for Dave and Aranda to come back even another year, because he's had a kind of like a cat with 9 lives. I think they just have to find a way to get to a bowl game and then try to steady the ship, because this up and down thing is Baylor fans are just like disengaged in some ways, and I think in some ways they're just very frustrated. For me, it's a big conference. The algorithm of the conference can affect who you are. So, yeah, I had a good sit down with Dave about a month and a half ago. No mics, no cameras, no nothing. And he knows what he's facing. There's no doubt about it that he's got to win.
Where would you have Baylor right now, preseason-wise, in the Big 12?
Bottom third. There's always in the Big 12, Ari and James, there's always that, you feel like you're 3 to 5. Even back in the days before some of the other changes, people coming and going. But you always kind of had that 3 to 5 level. And for a long time, Baylor was a part of that conversation. But it's been kind of like musical chairs. They're going to need some breaks. They open up, obviously, on the road against Auburn. Auburn's kind of going through the same thing with, of course, the new coach and Golish. But I cover them, and yet again, I really cover everybody in the Big 12, like you guys do. You know how we've kind of changed to who we are. And I think that fat gut, like, that little belly fat in the middle of the Big 12, I don't think they're the 3 or 4 worst teams. I think Oklahoma State, with the change to Eric Morris now, all of a sudden, they might get into that middle section because of all the players they brought in from North Texas. But I think Baylor is in that mode. You could flip a coin and it's 5-7 or 6-6. And so to me, that would be in the bottom level of that midsection of the Big 12. Because Klein at K-State, Iowa State, you knew that they were going to be steady with Matt Campbell. Now they have a change. They lost so many players, and a lot of other people too. Fritz and what he's built methodically in a foundation at Houston. So I think Baylor right now is probably looking up at most of the conference at this particular time.
With Baylor bringing in Joe Klanderman as the defensive coordinator, the defense was so bad last year. Where do you think that defense needs to be this year to accomplish whatever has to happen for Aranda to be back? Like top 50? Does it need to be top 30? I mean, that's the number that stands out to me is each of his 5 seasons calling the defense at K-State, they were top 30 in defensive efficiency.
Yeah, one of the things that did not happen is that there wasn't a lot of players from K-State that came with him. A lot of times you see that happen, especially with this day and age. But he did. They got some players that came in. They feel good about some of the incoming. They feel better about what they've been able to do on the offense and defensive lines, and in his case, the defensive line. That last year they just weren't very good, and they didn't really make plays. One of that is start top 50. Top 50 would be like what? And I'm not saying what you're saying is wrong, but yeah, they need something like that to be able to get a couple of extra wins. What I remember, and I don't know if it was you or who it was with, I went to NCAA.com, and I should have done this just now when you were asking me. Their turnover ratio was like 130th in the country. They couldn't force turnovers. They turned it over not a lot, but their plus minus was horrendous. There's 2 things that can make a 4-8 team, a 6-6 team, and a bowl team be a lot better on special teams and somehow give yourself a chance when it comes to the turnover margin. That doesn't mean you're going to force 2 and 3 a game and you're going to have a plus 20 at the end of the year. That's insane. But they have to do that. And Klanderman, I believe, is trying to set this defense up where they can have the ability to make plays. There's going to be different coverages in the secondary, and I'm not an X and O's guy, so I'm not going to try to act like I know what I'm talking about there, but there's going to be differences in how they do their coverages, which used to be either like it was standard with what Aranda would do. So I think they're going to have, defensively, they have to force turnovers because they're probably not strong enough or deep enough or good enough to be able to just be a shutdown team. Like that 21 defense with Petrie and Bernard, my God, they were fantastic. They're not going to get to that level, and maybe they do someday, but that means you're going to have to force some turnovers to get your offense, maybe fill position once or twice a game that otherwise you weren't getting.
You know X's and O's, Smokey. What are you talking about? You know football pretty well.
I'm not. You know what? Here's one of the things. I'm not going to break down various coverages. I'm not going to have all the calls. But here's one thing, Ari, James, that I've watched enough of it because I'm old. I can tell what's working. I can tell, and not just, they can run the ball, they can't run the ball. I can tell why some of the stuff is working or not. So that's what I mean by that. But as far as getting down in the dirt and X's and O's and like frothing at the mouth and all of that, like when Aranda gets in front of the board or Klanderman gets in front of the board or anybody gets in front of the board, sometimes that can look Chinese to me, but I can tell what's working or not. I think that's good enough.
Smokey, you said you sat down with Aranda, no cameras, no recording. Can you elaborate and tell us more about, I guess, kind of the headline from that conversation, your main takeaway?
Yeah, I can, because I got a call. Brent Ingram is the media relations of football and runs a lot of the media relations at Baylor. And he said, hey, Dave wants to sit down with you and talk. And of course I'll do that. And absolutely. No microphones, no cameras. And I didn't even want that either. We sat down in his office and overlooks the Brazos River and McLean Stadium and all the beautiful facilities in the new Fudge Football Center. And we just talked about who they are, where they are, what he knows he needs to get done. And here's the thing, guys. They're battling uphill when it comes to NIL. No doubt. We know that. You know that. We know the schools that right now are trying to figure out, not if they can play at the same level as maybe, and I bring up Texas Tech because they have made a huge commitment to that. And, of course, they've had an interesting week in Lubbock. But BYU, we know what the commitment they have. But Baylor's got to find that little extra, that little extra stash, so to speak. And right now they're kind of struggling to do that. That doesn't mean they don't have support. But one of the things I came out of, without a doubt, and the next time he's available, which might be Big 12 Media Days, without a doubt, if you ask him, do you have to be a bowl team? Do you have to win this year to continue? I would think there's no question he'll answer that immediately. He knows that. because he got kind of a life raft or a lifeline because of the change at AD when it happened. Because I've said this, I believe with you, that had Mack Rhodes remained the AD, had that not occurred, then there's no question we're talking about a different head coach this spring. No doubt in my mind, entering 2026. And I think Dave Aranda knows that too. And Mack loved Aranda. But the bottom line is you have to perform. One of the biggest concerns, and Dave knows that, he also discussed where when they had the athletic director change, when Doug McNamee took over, who's really good about finding sponsorships and money and all of that, plus the fact he's got to stabilize the athletic department. There's a lot of sports that aren't winning right now at a high enough level at Baylor. But Aranda was telling me that his staff, now not every coach would say this is, again, kind of on and off the record. His staff has been grinding like he has never seen before. And they have to, because they're playing uphill right now because of, one, what they have available when it comes to NIL. And that doesn't mean they don't have any of it, and they don't have a pretty decent amount. But number two, they have to go back, I think, to the basics of getting players that Baylor and TCU, back when Patterson and Briles were there, were diamonds in the rough. They're going to have to go find players from small schools out of East Texas, small schools out of Central Texas, high school players. Now, you're going to rely on the portal. They know that, in college transfer portal. But they got to go back to finding, I'll use the name, Shock Linwood. Shock Linwood, and I hope I'm answering your question, Shock Linwood came from one of the smallest schools in the state of Texas, in Linden, Texas, at Linden Kildare. But he was a Division I player. They got to go find players like that, players that are out of those schools in East Texas, because there's not a lot of larger schools in East Texas, and they've got to find that. They got to go back to the basics of doing that. Does that help them today, this week, this season? No, it does not, because that 26 class is already pretty much on campus, and they're working on 27. But I think Dave is trying to scratch every little lottery ticket you can. And I mean, by not being lucky, but they are trying to figure out a way of finding diamonds in the rough. The only problem, though, James and Ari, is diamonds in the rough. Class of 27 doesn't help you in 26. It doesn't help you in 26. Dave knows the pressure. I say pressure. Dave knows the scorecard. And the scorecard is he coached the best single-season team in Baylor history. They were phenomenal. That team was really good. Ranked 5th in the country, beat Ole Miss in the Sugar Bowl. Had there been an extended playoff, they're in it. And who knows with that defense what they do, even though Bohannon had been beat up and who they were with Blake Shapen. But the best team in Baylor history, but they've also had 2-7, 4-8, 3-9, 6-7 when they lost like their last 4 or 5 games, and then last year too when they just could not get out of their own lane. So he knows he's facing that, but he's a different dude now. You know him, but as different as he can be with some of the stuff that whatever the language is, because he speaks at a higher level than I do. But the one thing about him, he can really surprise you at times if you get to know him well enough, how real he can be. He knows what he faces this coming season. And I think that you don't hear much about Baylor other than DJ Lagway, and I think that's probably a good thing right now.
Right, under the radar. Awesome stuff. David Smokey, you're the best from 365 Sports, joining us to highlight Baylor today on Big 12 Today. We'll see you at Media Days here in a couple weeks.
We will see you in early July, guys. And, man, what a week it's been. Thank you very much for always inviting me. Love being on your show.
David Smoke, the best. Texas High School Football Hall of Fame inductee. He is a Heisman voter from 365 Sports to break down the Baylor Bears, part of the consensus today here on Big 12 Today as we lock in Baylor preseason to number 12 in the Big 12 Today consensus Big 12 poll. All right, coming up next, LJ Martin. You don't want to miss this interview. The record-setting BYU running back, all Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year, will join us after this. He's Ari Timken. I'm James Westling. This is Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio. This is the Big 12 Conference. This is a different league.
Glad to see your family as that ball is picked up. get it to the 29. Third down, Lopez to the outside, and it's intercepted, and it's going to be a walk-in touchdown for the veteran Bud Clark, his 12th career pick. Robertson, pressure inside, and he's dropped. Bud Clark gets the sack, his first sack of the season, and it comes out to 20.4 miles per hour, fourth fastest for a safety in the FBS.
But number 2's Logan got in the way. Douglas, he is hammered. Look at those guys in purple all arriving in a bad humor.
Take a look here at Bud Clark come down and make this play. Now, he doesn't get him down initially. However, he stops the play from happening and the rest of his teammates can come and race to the tackle field.
Lopez gets hit, and that's a strike that he threw in there.
Quick pass. Gallagher in space. Wrapped up right there by Bud Clark, the elder statesman.
Big 12 today here on Big 12 Radio.
heard on TuneIn, watched on Big 12 Studios. We welcome in the best running back in the Big 12, the reigning Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year, L.J. Martin from BYU. Turned down the NFL to come back to BYU one more season and take one more shot at a Big 12 championship. LJ, super excited to have you on the program. Ultimately, why come back one more year and play for the Cougs?
Yeah, I just felt like it was the best decision for my career, and yeah, just being able to have another opportunity of upping my draft stock, as well as having another opportunity just to play football in college one last time, compete for possibly a national championship, a Big 12 championship, and just kind of get those things going.
Yeah, I'm curious, LJ, for your perspective, vantage point of last season, because you're coming to the season, obviously you're a known commodity at that point, but the quarterback was up in the air, and here comes this freshman who didn't spend spring football with the team. Like, give us your perspective on the emergence of Bear Bachmeier last year.
Yeah, I mean, it was great. We knew coming in he had a lot of talent. He was a pretty highly touted recruit. And yeah, so just knowing that, we knew that he was going to have a lot of ability. It was just his matter of being able to understand the offense, and he got a hang of it pretty well, so he was able just to fit right in.
LJ, take us through your off season to this point. You missed some time last year with that injury. How has rehab progressed, and where are you at in terms of what you're looking to be even better at this year than you were a season ago?
Yeah, I had surgery back in December, and then so I've been pretty much working out since February. So I've been pretty much like with the run-in since January, and then I was clear to run in January, and then I've been pretty much lifting everything since February. So I'm pretty good now. I'm back to 100%, and yeah, so everything's going well with that. And then I'm looking to, you guys will probably see a little bit more explosiveness out of me. We've been working on that a lot, just explosiveness, gotten faster, quicker, so all those good things.
Yeah, and I wonder, are there things you've looked at in terms of approach to try to figure out ways to stay fresh and stay healthy over the course of the season?
Yeah, we looked at some things, but at the end of the day, we want to be a physical team, and we want to kind of impose our will on the other team. So we play a pretty physical brand of football. So with that, it takes a lot of hits. So just knowing that, so we're really just preparing our bodies to go out there and withstand possibly a 15, 16 game season.
And what do you do to do that? Like, is it just exposing yourself to those hits? Like, how do you kind of get yourself better to deal with those hits over the course of the, as you said, 15, 16 game season?
Yeah, for me, it was just strengthening like all the little muscles just around those areas, just to make sure there's no like little just wear and tear things kind of going on. So I'm just trying to strengthen like my your external internal rotation, just so we have those extra security blankets for my shoulders and stuff like that. So it's little things like that, just they go on the course of the season, as well as just exposing ourselves to certain stresses on our bodies, just so that way when we get to the season, we're ready for them.
Talking with BYU running back L.J. Martin here on Big 12 Radio and Big 12 Studios. What can you tell us, L.J., about just the BYU offense and how dynamic it could potentially be this season? Last year, I don't want to say you guys had the baby, but you had a freshman quarterback. This year, you've got a guy that's played a full season in the system, had his best game, the last game of the year. You at running back, the offensive line looks strong. You bring in some really nice portal additions in the tight end room. Just how could this offense be even more explosive?
Yeah, we're really excited. A lot of the O-line, they came back, and we made a few key additions to it. And then as well as in our tight end room, we lost Carson, but we brought in two really good tight ends, so we feel really good about that. And then out there at receiver, we lost a couple guys, but we brought in guys like Kyler Casper and Legend, who's been doing really well as a freshman, just to kind of help with that. So, they've all been doing well. And the Bear, he's only gotten better. During spring, he was doing great, and he's been doing great during our 7-on-7 stuff. So, we're really excited to see how he's progressed as a passer, and really excited to see how he uses it during season.
It feels like despite what you've already accomplished, LJ, you've got a lot to prove this season. Do you feel like that?
Yeah, I mean, I would say like we always got something to prove, every season's a new season. So I'm just going out there, giving it my all, and just trying to, just try to be the best I can be.
Do you have a number in mind in terms of like carries per game for you?
Carries per game, I'm good for whatever. I mean, if it's 30 times a game, I'm gonna be more than happy. But yeah, if it's only 10, I mean, I'm good with that too. It's just whatever helps the team win. I'm good with either.
LJ, did you come from a mostly basketball family?
Yeah, I grew up playing mainly basketball, and yeah, I just was kind of just better at football. So yeah, one time during my sophomore year, went to a basketball tournament and I did all right. And then football was kind of just coming more natural. I probably because my sophomore year, I probably averaged like, we played 5 games because it was COVID, but I averaged like 200 yards a game rushing. So I was like talking to my dad. I was like, yeah, I think I just want to stick with football. And then a week later, I got my first offer. Wow. And we started doing camp stuff. So yeah.
What is
okay? So you played basketball and football both. In your sophomore year, you realized, hey, this football thing, man, I'm cooking.
Yeah, I mean, I always wanted it to be basketball just because that's what we grew up playing, and I always played football because I enjoyed it. It was more like a team thing, and then yeah, as I got older, I just kind of fell more in love with football just because I mean, yeah, it's like you're just with all your guys. Anyone could play, really. It's like, how it is in high school. It's, you got guys that'll never make the basketball team, but they make the football team just because we need numbers, So you're out there with all your guys, and we're just having a blast. So it kind of just made me love football for what it is.
Yeah, that's amazing. What does LJ stand for?
Yeah, my dad's name is John, so it's just Little John.
That's
so yeah,
awesome.
So yeah, I'm just named after my dad.
Are you a fan of Little John?
Yeah, but they've just been calling me LJ ever since I was little. So yeah, they never call me John or Little John. It's just always been LJ. My parents always called me LJ. So yeah, it's kind of weird because whenever we get in class, they'll call on me as John. So that's kind of how I know like where people would know me from. Because if it was school, it was John, and then if it's not school, it's LJ. So yeah,
that's amazing. And then I'm always fascinated by recruiting stories and journeys and like how guys end up where they land. You at BYU, you're pacing, by the way, to become the career leading rusher all time at BYU this season. So let's circle back to the recruiting process. Did you originally commit to Stanford, and then how did you ultimately end up at BYU?
Yeah, it was kind of crazy because originally I committed to Texas Tech, and then so I was committed there for about a month or two, and then but really my dream school at the time was Stanford, just because their education, and then my mom really wanted me to go there, and so like all that, so with my mom in my ear, and everyone wanted me to for my education, so I ended up committed to Stanford. So I was committed to Stanford, getting ready to early enroll, and the last game of the season they played BYU and they lost, and Coach Shaw had resigned, so that had happened, and then so that happened. So I was kind of wondering if I still wanted to go to Stanford. So they were still recruiting me, but I kind of had to change it hard also because they had a new coach who was more air raid, and I didn't want to go to college just to pass protect. I wanted to run the ball. So yeah, I kind of started talking to other schools, and a couple other schools hit me. I talked to BYU the first time, probably like a week before signing date, 2 weeks. They came out to my house, had a home visit, came up here, had a great visit, and then I pretty much signed the early signing date. So I signed within like 2 days and within 2 weeks of knowing them.
Wow.
So yeah, I was just like, because they just felt genuine, like good people. Had a couple other schools that were trying to recruit me, but they would always play games and just say like, oh, if you don't commit by now, like you're not gonna have an offer, or like we're gonna give you the visit, but you need to know by like whenever if you're gonna commit, right? So I was like, okay. And then Coach Harvey out here, he was just like, if you want to commit like today, that's cool. If you want to commit like in April, like it's completely fine. He's like, I don't care when you commit, just as long as you come. So I was like, shoot, let's do it.
I'm assuming, LJ, you're not LDS?
No, I'm not.
So what did you know about the LDS church before enrolling at BYU, and what I guess have you learned about it since?
Yeah, all I had was a teammate in El Paso playing basketball. He grew up LDS, and he wouldn't play with us on Sundays. So that's pretty much all I knew about it. And they had like about 7 kids. They actually live up here now, so I go over to their house for Sunday dinners.
That's awesome.
And stuff. So yeah, so that also helped in the recruiting process because it kind of just allowed my parents just to be able to relax just because they knew people out here and because at first it's kind of intimidating because you just hear all kind of stories about the church and whatever happens, but just being able to be familiar with those people and just know like the type of people they are, that they're good people and they really try to take care of us. Yeah, I mean, it kind of just worked out and yeah, I mean, I've had a great time here. It's been the best decision of my life, I would say.
Have you found it's made you more religious?
Yeah, it definitely helped me find my, I don't know, you would say like my religion, I guess. I'm just Christian, so I'm not denominational. Kind of grew up Catholic, but it just kind of reinforced it just because you're surrounded by guys that just talk about religion or came back from missions and talking about religion. So and that it just kind of makes you want to like just be better for yourself, So I kind of thought like once I got to college, I probably wouldn't go to church as much just because no parents around, so no one really getting me to go. But I'm down here and everyone's just talking about going to church or doing things and just doing small things, just trying to be like an impact in your community. So yeah, it kind of just got me to go to church on my own, start going a lot more, just start reading the Bible and all that stuff, and it just helped me a lot. So yeah,
that's awesome.
Man, that's incredible. Great stuff from BYU running back LJ Martin joining us here on Big 12 Radio. When you think about your legacy, I noted that you're pacing for an all-time record. No BYU running back has ever led the team in rushing in all 4 seasons that they're on campus. What do you want people, when people think about the LJ Martin legacy, what do you want them to think about?
Yeah, I would say just that I'm a winner. We came back from my first year. I remember us not having a great year. We were about 5-7. And then we traded around. We were 11-2, and then last year we were 12-2. So we just built it up, and we kept winning. And yeah, so I would say I just want to be known as a winner. Just have a good final year, and just kind of go down in history as one of the best backs to come out of here. Because you see guys like Jamal, my coach, Coach Harvey, Tyler Algier. I kind of want to be in the conversation with those guys because they're the best. So I want to be part of the best.
Awesome.
Well, man, you're doing that. You guys are winning at a very high level. Can't wait to catch up with you again at Big 12 Media Days. We appreciate your time, and man, we're excited about the upcoming season, and just congrats on an incredible career up to this point at BYU.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for having me.
It's BYU running back LJ Martin here on Big 12 Today. You're listening to us exclusively on TuneIn. You're watching us on Big 12 Studios.
Seems to be doing okay right now as Barry Bachmeier's pass is complete for a first down to Carson Ryan. Had big chunk yard runs here tonight, though. 2 in the 40s, 1 in the 50s. Now for the end zone. Ryan! Oh, he has it. What a catch. Touchdown. On Instagram, 1.3 million followers. It's a phenomenal museum with books from the last 600 years.
Well, the book on this offense is that it has a lot of potential. Ryan making the catch for the first down.
Take Retzlaff from the program. Bachmeier began the story. Bear will throw another open man. Carson Ryan strolling in for the touchdown. Ryan's second of the season. First down catch by tight end Carson Ryan.
That was intense. Josh Heatley on the sideline with his star wideout. Bachmeier across the middle to the tight end.
Well, we caught up with Noah Fifita a couple of weeks ago here on Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio. Now we head back to Tucson to talk about the defensive side of the football with the Arizona Wildcats safeties coach, Brett Arce, who enters his 6th season with the Wildcats. But Brent Brennan, he's only been there for 3. So, Brett, welcome to the program. Take us back to those initial conversations with Coach Brennan and what ultimately led to you being retained and building what is a safeties room that just churns out NFL talent.
Yeah, it was a interesting time, a lot of chaos, but I think the big thing was just the trust with the players of our current roster and the relationship we had built. I think you're earning their trust every day in the meeting room with your teaching and accountability and how you carry yourself. So I think gaining the trust of those guys, of some really good players, that helped my case with Coach Brennan. And just talking to him and, seeing his vision and what he wanted for this place and, and how we aligned. So it was easy, and we hit the ground running.
Yeah, and what a year it was, to have, 3 guys drafted after really successful seasons. I mean, this was the best secondary, in the Big 12 and maybe in college football, and I think 3 NFL draft picks is a good reflection of that. What went into that? And when did you know that this team could be special in that position, in that group?
I had a good idea just from being with those guys for 4 years, and Genesis left in 3, so 3 for him. I had a good idea heading into the year, that it could be special. I didn't know how special. But, the continuity of those guys and, just the countless hours spent day in and day out perfecting their craft. Those guys were unbelievable players. As good a players they were unbelievable people, ambassadors for Tucson and the University of Arizona. So just to be a part of their growth and that journey was incredible.
Is there a technique component here to what made them successful last year? And what are the things that you guys are preaching that maybe could allow for success this year, even with new personnel?
I'm gonna give the credit to those guys, man. I think we teach a little bit differently, and I think just the attention to detail and the small stuff goes a long way, and that's what we focus on. Is just being super detailed in our teaching and our process. But we were blessed to have incredible players and incredible people, and it makes my job easy.
When you say small stuff and attention to detail, can you give us an example of 1 or 2 things that you guys emphasize that maybe you haven't seen at some of your previous stops, or you think is just a little bit different in terms of how Arizona operates within that group?
I would say, for instance, eye control or teaching offensive theory, how offenses are built, conceptually, so those guys understand concepts and what's coming, maybe based off down and distance. If you get this released by a player, it might help you know what route's coming from a different player, not even one that you're looking at. So just keys like that can help.
Curious for, what you have coming in and how you kind of get those guys to maybe not replicate the same production, but obviously the interceptions, the turnovers speak for themselves. So it was a big reason for the success last year's team.
Yeah, the exciting thing for me is is there's a chip on my shoulder to try and do it again with these guys, and these guys are bought in. They're doing everything they can to get and play at that level. The standard's been set by those guys that left, and now the guys in the room are chasing that, and that's the fun thing, is watching those guys and how hungry they are and how they aspire to have the success that the guys in the room just had. So now it's it's just a mutual relationship. We're working together to try and achieve that together, and those guys have been doing a great job this offseason pouring into the process to try and get there.
Talking with Brett Arce, the Arizona safeties coach, here on Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio. Arizona coming off a 9-win campaign last year, major uptick in year 2 of the Brent Brennan era. When I look at, defensively, a lot of returning production with the front 7. Then you get to the secondary. You guys have Malcolm Hartzog, a transfer coming in from Nebraska, Dalen Austin from Oregon, Cam Chapa, an FCS transfer that we're really high on. What were you guys looking for in the portal to replace the big 3 that we just spoke about?
Yeah, when we were looking at the big thing was experience. We wanted guys with snaps under their belt. You know, that's what we were losing is guys that played a lot of football. They were comfortable together, and that's what we're trying to grow right now with the guys that came in. But you know, snaps were a premium when we were looking. Guys that played in a lot of snaps. You know, some of those guys might not have. Dalen played in some big time games, so he was in some big time moments. So the combination of a lot of snaps and big games and making plays in those games were stuff that we look for.
What'd you learn from Dwayne Aquina?
Dwayne is an unbelievable mentor. He had a big hand in those guys and their success as well, and he was, you know, a big part of my growth as a coach as well. So, you know, he's one of the best to ever do it in this profession when it comes to DB play. And you know, me and him had a great working relationship. You know, I was just soaking up all the knowledge like a sponge, and I can't give him enough credit for helping me and helping those guys achieve what we all did together. He had a big hand in that.
Who is Dwayne Aquina?
Dwayne Aquina, in my opinion, is the GOAT of DB play. You know, he's an unbelievable teacher, unbelievable mentor. You know, we had a great working relationship in 23 under the previous staff. He was another reason why when Coach Brennan got here and Dwayne was on staff as a defense coordinator, you know, that relationship, he kept me on to continue that continuity. And you know, if you ask me and you ask a lot of people, I think he's one of the best to ever do it.
Yeah, I mean, Chris McAllister, Earl Thomas. I mean, there's plenty of incredible performers at Texas and Arizona that Dwayne Aquina helped to
the GOAT
to coach for sure.
There's no doubt.
How does a college tight end and former wide receivers coach become a safeties coach?
Yeah, so I played offense and then started my career on offense. When I ended up leaving an FCS program, I coached receivers and tight ends there. I went to USC and was the graduate assistant during the Clay Helton tenure, and I switched to defense. And you know, I've been blessed to be have some unbelievable mentors. You just mentioned Dwayne. You know, when I got there, the defense coordinator was Clancy Pendergast, who you know, coached for the Cardinals in the Super Bowl, has a wealth of knowledge. So I've been blessed to spend time with some unbelievable coaches and really just soak up, you know, all the information and soak up game from those guys, and then put my own little twist to things. And you know, I think having an offensive perspective helps, and you know, using the knowledge that I've gained from some unbelievable mentors, two of those guys, and Johnny Nansen was here as another one. Using my offensive spin on things and taking what they've taught me is why I'm here where I'm at today.
You know, Brett, when I think about Arizona defensive backs, I think about long, rangy, like prototypical NFL caliber guys. How much does height play a role in the way you recruit, or arm length, wingspan, any of that stuff?
Yeah, there's something to that, but I don't think you can just pass guys by if they, you know, they don't hit certain measurables. I always think there's an exception. You had mentioned Malcolm Hartzog, who just came in from Nebraska. He's not a big, long, you know, a big guy by any means in height. He's got long arms. He's super twitchy. Short area quickness is big, and he's strong for his size. So even though he might not be the tallest guy, I mean, he's a pit bull. He's one of the strongest guys in the weight room. Super athletic and short area quickness, and he has some length and long arms that with the speed, the quickness, and the length in his arms can help maybe the height stuff. So I think, you know, there is a piece of that looking at long guys, but I think there's always exceptions to that rule and guys that can change it. And I think it's healthy to have some different body types in the safety room as well. Just you know, you don't want to just have one specific looking guy or attribute in that group. I think you got to build the room and piece it together with different attributes.
You know, I'm curious, does you ever get confused with coach at practice or the facility, or you hear his name called? Do you think it's your name? Like, how often does that happen?
No, most people around here just call me RC. So
Got it. That makes sense.
Everybody calls me that, so it makes it easy.
So do you have do you have a Brent preference, or you don't care?
No.
I know some Bretts
I like
are very
that, though.
anti-Brent.
It would be challenging. It would be challenging. Luckily, everybody just goes by my last name. If not, I'd be turning my head every 2 seconds.
Yeah, no kidding. How have you seen Brent change over the years as he's been the head coach?
You know, the great thing about Coach B is just, you know, he's the same guy. You know, the first year we was tough. We had our lumps, but I think it's always hard, a new staff taking over a program and trying to, you know, change the old ways and get them to your ways. And, you know, through all of that, Coach Brent he's been the same guy. He's been all about the players and their experience. He's all about the coaches and the family environment. And really, you know, we just talk about red line around here, and that's, you know, effort, you know, execution and accountability. And that goes from coaches to players, and just, you know, trying to push each other, give 100% effort, execute at a high level, coaches and players, and just hold each other accountable. I got to do my job to the highest level. Those guys got to do the same. We got to be accountable to one another. And that message, you know, permeates throughout this building. He's done a great job of instilling that and continuing that since he's been here.
Yeah, and obviously as a leader, it's important to be consistent and have a level of consistency through, you know, the ups and downs, the good and the bad. But I also think it's probably impactful for leadership to evolve and grow over time. Have you seen that? Do you see that in yourself?
Yeah, I know Coach B, for him, we're always trying to find a way to be a better coach. You know, so he finding ways, you know, situationally, how can we better? Schematically, how can we be better? And pushing us as coaches to figure that stuff out and answer to that. Same with the players. How can they do better? How can their process be better? Can they take care of their bodies in a different way? What's their nutrition looking like? And then just how we approach practice structure and stuff. So we're always trying to tweak, and we say build a better mousetrap, find the best way to do it. So just being open to new ideas. I know I'm always challenging myself to be a better coach. I tell my guys, you know, I got to be hungry just like you, and just finding better ways to be a better teacher, a better coach. Is there a different technique that might be better than the one I'm teaching now? And being open, you know, I think coaches, you know, and players, we're all prideful, but we all have to be open to new ideas and new philosophies. And then, you know, maybe you like it, maybe you don't, but being open and honest and trying to just grow. I think we're in a continued state of growth.
Brett Arce is the safeties coach at Arizona, talking Arizona football. And the quarterback, Noah Fifita, you know, we heard in kind of his words, he outlined his personal and team goals for this season and his leadership characteristics. But as somebody that coaches on the defensive side of the football, how would you describe the way he carries himself and those leadership traits that he has?
I mean, that guy's a pro through and through. He's as good as he gets. I've been around some good ones in my time. Most recently was Sammy Diaz at SC with the Super Bowl, and he reminds me of that guy, just the moxie that he has. He's calm, cool, and collected. He's got a ton of respect in the locker room, his process and how he goes about it day in and day out. And, you know, Noah is he's never going to take the credit. He's always going to give credit to his teammates. And, he, you know, anytime there's struggles, he's always going to fall on the sword and take the brunt of it. And, you know, for a guy to do that at his age and play the way he plays, I mean, he's as good as it gets, in my opinion. And, you know, he embodies what University of Arizona and Tucson is all about, you know, blue collar, hardworking people. And that's what Noah is and what he continues to be.
All right, Brett, let's wrap with kind of a day in the life of the Arizona safeties coach. What time do you have to get up each day to maintain that 5-star All-American beard? I'm so jealous.
I'm up early. I got a young son, a 2-year-old, so if I don't get up early, man, it's chaos. So I'm up at 5:30 every day. There's some grooming involved for sure, but we got a team barber here in the building that helps me out. I can't take credit for that one.
Oh man, he's crushing it. All right, take us through, like, what does a day in mid-June look like for the safeties coach at Arizona?
For me, you know, just these guys, our guys right now, they're all with the strength and conditioning coaches, right? And so we can't be out there when they're doing football stuff. It's more so just watching them run, helping hold them accountable, they have goals and aspirations, and so making sure they're meeting that in the conditioning and in their benchmarks in the weight room, watching them lift and trying to help elevate them in that aspect. And then studying next year's opponents, and studying myself. What have we shown on tape? How can we continue that growth, but also maybe change some things up so we're not so predictable? And then just trying to grow as a coach. How can I be a better teacher? My big off-season study is trying to be the best tackling coach in the country, and how to do that, and learn some different techniques from other coaches, NFL, rugby, all different, so just trying to grow myself, just like I ask my players to do.
Rugby? How do they tackle in rugby, and how can you carry that over? That's amazing.
Well, I think a lot of it now, the same foot, same shoulder, striking, keeping your head out. A lot of us in football now, it used to be head across the bow. Some guys still do that. We're head out of it, more rugby style. So just trying to find, new drill work, techniques. We were doing some drills, and, how can we have better drills? Like I said, how do we build a better mousetrap? So, shout out to the University of Arizona rugby coaches. I've been picking their brains and how we can do that. And I think, us as coaches, we just have to be open, like I talked about earlier, and trying to learn the best techniques and what can we steal from other people. I am who I am because the mentors I had in front of me. I've had some great ones, and we talked about one of them in Coach Aquina, and I'm always trying to learn from great coaches and steal some of their stuff and put it in my game. So that's what I'm doing right now.
Well, today I learned that Arizona has a rugby program, so that is awesome, man. Coach, appreciate your time. We are super high on Arizona for the upcoming season. Best of luck as you inch closer to the start of the official football kickoff season coming up here in a couple of months.
Appreciate you guys having me.
All right, man.
Bear down.
Brett Arce, Arizona safeties coach here on Big 12 today. 3 NFL draft picks this most recent cycle coming from his safety room. Quite impressive what they're doing down in Tucson. We'll wrap up the show coming up next. He's Ari. I'm James. This is Big 12 Radio. We are brought to you, the full-time fan, by our friends at Modelo.
Arizona getting exotic. It's lofted by Sorsby, and it's picked off. Dalton Johnson with the second takeaway for Arizona.
That was going to remain on the sideline today. That one looks laminated. Look out here. Howland flung for a huge loss. We know he can spin it, but so do Dalton Johnson and the Cats.
Tonight getting his first career carries. Ball is loose. A lucky bounce for Bachmeier. Can he make the most of it? And that ball downfield is taken away for the second time tonight. Gotta be a good punt. Salgado Medina does get it away. And this will be touched by Kansas State.
And it goes right through his hands. And Johnson on the recovery. Johnny on the spot.
Lyman being able to swing it that well. Look at this second level blitz, and the Cats get hands on it again. Dalton Johnson part of that wave. Back-to-back pass breakups.
Out of the shotgun. Jailbreak pressure. It's picked off. And it will be a pick 6 for Dalton Johnson. Wow, they got him at the 5. That was great defensive work. Wow, I thought no way they're going to catch up.
3rd and 22. Couple guys drop out. Sorsby in trouble. Gets it away complete. And he's wrestled out of bounds. Manny Covey.
Big 12 today here on Big 12 Radio. He's Ari Timken on social. You can follow along at RE Sports. That is ARI Sports. I'm James Westling on social at James Westling. Wrapping up the show for a Wednesday edition. So this from Brett McMurphy about an hour ago. Iowa State and Kansas State appealed their $500,000 fines from the league because they opted out of their bowl games last year, and they did ultimately get those fines reduced to $250,000. But I see that dollar amount, and 10 years ago, it's pretty eye-opening. In today's era, what does $250,000 get you? Maybe a backup linebacker? Backup safety?
Well, it's meaningful enough for those two programs that they appealed and basically got half-off deals. But, yeah, it's funny how, like, man, $250,000 is a lot of money. But in professional sports and now collegiate sports, it's like, it's a drop in the bucket. I mean, Cody Campbell paid Brendan Sorsby $5 million to be on campus for 2 months and to put them through Texas Tech, what they just went through. $5 million. We're not going to ask for that money back. Why? Because $5 million to me is like what I pay in taxes. Probably significantly less than that for Cody Campbell.
Well, I thought I saw either him doing another interview or some statement or revision of his original statement that said Sorsby wasn't collecting all $5 million. Maybe it's 4, maybe it's 2, maybe there was a settlement behind closed doors. Still a lot of cheddar.
Yeah, he did say he wasn't going to ask for the money back. But I think, when it comes to this fine for K-State and Iowa State, it sort of harkens back to this huge story that's happening right now because of Sorsby and really mostly because of Ken Paxton. This landmark case, that would, in essence, give conferences the latitude to rule the roost. Basically allowing for conferences to govern themselves. So shout out to Ken Paxton for doing this. If this legislation would allow conferences to enforce penalties regardless of an injunction. It would in essence be making court decisions moot because of quote-unquote conference law here. Right? So currently you could get an injunction and foul the play against NCAA rules. What this would allow for is for the conferences to make these decisions themselves and not be worried about what courts decide or allowing for attorneys general to interject. Again, pretty monumental. And it's funny because it comes in the wake of the Sorsby stuff, which for many of us was just a drain.
Right? Like, how do I reset my algorithm to eliminate all just the Texas Tech fan chatter? The quote tweets, like, just give me the news. Give me the news. I'd like to see the news. But the problem is I've clicked on the news so much that now I'm getting flooded with anything from what feels like every Texas Tech fan on the face of the earth.
Well, and on this legislation, so the Big 12 hired a law firm called Sidley Austin. Okay, just give you a little background on Sidley Austin. It's the law firm that Barack Obama once worked at. It's a law firm that J.D. Vance once worked at. Okay, so it's a pretty big, well-known, high-profile, powerful law firm. Okay, Natalie Weisen is a lawyer for Sidley Austin, and she is a 2-time BYU graduate, both from their law school summa cum laude and from the school cum laude. So she's very smart, extremely good at her job, and basically was instrumental in designing this legislation or designing, this suit to bring against Ken Paxton, which again would be a landmark suit across all of college athletics if it is, I don't know how to say it, like ruled for.
Yeah. In favor of.
In favor of, thank you.
I mean, she's the one that Brett Yormark gave credit to for the legal strategy. And then Tom Mars, which I am thoroughly enjoying his commentary because he gets to sit back with a bag of popcorn and watch this whole thing. And he called it a devastating legal filing and the most creative thing he's ever come across in his many, many years of working in that field. And then Derek Brown.
Now, we also said he was shocked by the Sorsby injunction, which Like, so it leads me to believe that maybe he's a little bit hyperbolic here because I'm not a lawyer and I wasn't shocked by it. In fact, I said it was going to happen when it was granted. So there's some things that Mars has said. It's like, all right, yeah, maybe he's just hyperbolic for the sake of hyperbole.
Yeah, there's some clickbait stuff in there,
Yeah.
for sure. But Derek Brown, who is one of the many attorney generals who formerly worked for Sydney.
Attorneys general
Washington, too.
or attorney generals?
Say it again.
Attorneys general or attorney generals?
AG.
AGs.
AGs.
One of the AGs.
The ultimate AGs.
I think it's attorneys general. You sound way smarter when you say it like that.
The ultimate AGs.
It's like when Steve Sabins kept referring to it as biomechanics. It's like, it must be right if he's saying it like that.
I like that better. So, yeah, BYU is highlighting that, hey, we've got some BYU folks.
Another
in
win
the
for
chat.
BYU over Texas Tech.
Right.
Or at least one win for BYU over Texas Tech.
Bro, what is the obsession with HEBs?
It's a really good supermarket.
So they opened their Irving store, which we are located in Irving here in our compound. Shoppers were camping out overnight just to be the first through the doors.
Yeah, that's a little crazy. I love HEB as much as the next guy, but I'm not camping out for it. There's also HEBs already open across the city that you could go to if you're really that crazy about it.
Drive 20 minutes. I'm sure you can find it at HEB.
In my humble opinion, Tom Thumb and Kroger, which are these two grocery stores of record in the city of Dallas, aren't even the same category as HEB. And it's weird to me, HEB is all over Texas. Their headquarters are in San Antonio, so you will not find another grocery store chain in San Antonio. It's only HEB.
Really?
Only HEB.
Wow.
And Houston, they're all over Houston. Houston also has Kroger. El Paso, everywhere. They're everywhere in Texas except for Dallas. And it's really actually interesting because over the years, I'm talking like 3 decades, HEB as a company has bought and sold real estate across the city of Dallas for 30 years. They've just been sitting so they've strategically been figuring this out for years. They have so far been on the periphery, not in Dallas city limits, but in some of the other municipalities. But they are encroaching closer and closer. In fact, I believe they just announced their first ever Dallas store at 635 and Coit, that area. But I mean, it's a superior grocery store. The products are superior. The people are extremely helpful and like being there. HEB does profit sharing with their employees, so there's a greater buy-in from their employees.
Wow.
You go to a Kroger, it feels like every employee there hates themselves. Apologies to them, but that's just my experience as a consumer going into those stores. The product is not good. It's often not fresh. Many people do great work in working for those grocery stores, but they're just not the same category in my humble
How about
opinion.
HEB prices?
Yes.
Didn't an HEB just open up in your neck of the
Forney.
woods?
Yes,
Forney.
about 2 months ago or so.
How long did you camp out for that one?
Yeah, were people camping
about
out?
30 seconds. Yeah, and they also have cheap gas also.
Yeah, their
I remember
prices are
that.
great.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Prices are fantastic.
Remember the gas epidemic? That was big. Yeah, I think I've been to an HEB a couple of times, and you said they've been buying land for 30 years and just sitting on it?
In Dallas.
Whew.
Maybe even more than 30 years.
40 years?
Yeah, and maybe because living in San Antonio, I moved to Dallas from San Antonio, and HEB is a huge deal in San Antonio. The history of HEB, and got to meet many of their executives over the years. And it's just an interesting business model to study, like what they've done, how they've grown, what their priorities are. But it's clear that they care about the people that work there. They care about their shoppers in ways that other chains don't. And look, I mean, Kroger and Tom Thumb are part of huge conglomerates that have grocery stores across the country. They're good at what they do from being efficient, but in terms of quality and price, it's just not there.
Doesn't HEB own Central Market too?
Yes.
Yeah. Dallas.
That's my HEB experience.
Right.
which
But
I
Central
can't-
Market is a step above. It's going to be more expensive. It's more of a premium product. Now, Central Market does carry some of the HEB products,
Yes.
but it's not the same store. HEB is, to me, is more premium than a Kroger and a Tom Thumb with cheaper prices. Central Market, you're paying for what you're getting. It's a Whole Foods.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that.
It's like a Honda Acura comp. Same company, same umbrella, the premium package is. The
Yeah, so like you
Cindermark.
drive what? You have a Volkswagen.
Yeah, it's a Volkswagen. The luxury vehicle would be an Audi. Same family.
Exactly.
Same
so
cars,
the
just
car you have
nicer.
is called a
Arteon. It's a sports sedan.
Arteon.
Yeah, it's a sports sedan.
So like you're talking about like the Arteon's like a Kroger. HEB would probably be like an A4, an Audi A4, and then like Central Mark would be like an S, which is like the better engine.
Okay, that makes sense.
I don't know how much you know about cars, but
A ton.
I know very
It's
little.
actually the A5 that the Arteon is mirrored off of.
Do they have an
They were
A5?
Very close.
I thought they were only
A5 Sportback. Oh yeah, they've got an A5. Do they have an A5?
All right.
I thought for a second Arrowhead Stadium was an HEB. No, it's GEHA Field. Are HEBs only in Texas?
Yes.
They're bringing back Austin Powers.
Thank God.
Just one more sign that Hollywood has officially run out of ideas. Didn't we just have a little Austin Powers drop yesterday? It's all connected. You were talking about, I think, Baby J. We somehow got into an Austin Powers quick little thing, and then I see that Austin Powers 4 is in the making.
When was the last movie Mike Myers made?
It's been a minute.
Yeah, it's weird. I wouldn't actually. Austin Powers 4, I would say, would not be horrible. I would actually want to see that one because Mike Myers is still funny.
He hasn't done a movie since 2018.
What's the deal?
Bohemian Rhapsody and Terminal were the last two.
Wow.
Shrek 5. They've made 5 Shreks. That might be a problem.
Yeah, maybe he's lost it. Maybe I shouldn't have any faith in him. You excited about the West Virginia game today? Huge game today.
1 p.m. this afternoon, an elimination game for West Virginia against North Carolina.
West Virginia needs to win today and then must win again tomorrow. North Carolina just needs to win 1 of 2. That's all they need to do. So West Virginia needs to win 2 straight. North Carolina just needs to win today or tomorrow, and they're into the champ series.
I think West Virginia gets this first one, especially with how the last matchup went, with all the errors in the 7th inning. It was close until West Virginia had some very un-West Virginia-like blunders. So give me the Oma Ears in Game 1.
And do they go back to Max Yale, who pitched really well against North Carolina? He tossed 7 innings, allowing just 2 earned runs with 7 strikeouts. But then obviously that 7th inning was when it all came apart for West Virginia defensively.
All right, that's going to put a wrap on this edition of Big 12 today here on Big 12 Radio. Don't miss the Power Hour, which starts at 2 Eastern, 1 o'clock Central. We'll highlight TCU, part of our Road to Arlington series for the Horned Frogs. And then at 3 Eastern, it's Arizona State. And at 4 o'clock Eastern, you'll hear from a whole slew of BYU stars like L.J. Martin, the running back, Bear Bachmeier, the quarterback, and head coach Kalani Sitake. We're back tomorrow. For Ari Temkin, for T-Chains, Taman Turner, our audio producer, for Anthony Smith behind the camera, I'm James Westling. This has been Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio, brought to you by Modelo.